Good afternoon, Miranda. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Good morning, everyone. Well,
Yeah,
almost
doing good.
afternoon, I guess.
Most of the people that tune in are on the East Coast, but yeah, good morning and good afternoon to everybody. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Magda. Good afternoon. I see Twitter did their open and close thing again.
Yeah, I'm dinged again by the Twitter has me censored again, so I can't pre-schedule spaces, and my spaces will we ghost if I don't do certain things. So please retweet the room. I can't do it. I can't even tweet or post in the bubble. I'll get kicked out of the room if I do that. So I'm kind of depending on the people today, and Marlon's here to help. So, how you doing, Marlon? Good to see you.
Good, brother. How you doing? Yes, hot Saturday afternoon on the East Coast. Miranda, how you doing? Terry, good to see you. Constitution. Right on. Here we go.
I might be getting locked up here, so Marlon, if you can give a Civic a mic, I wanted to talk to them.
I noticed this morning I went to comment on something and it said that I've reached my limit. So they're doing that stuff again, which I haven't even been that active on there. So I don't know. Weird. It doesn't. I did look for an update and there's no update because usually when it starts getting glitchy and weird, it's because we need to do an update. But
Yeah, I'm almost scared to do updates.
yeah, it makes me wonder because my phone needs an update, but I've been hesitant to do it. But I'm wondering if you have an Apple phone, if that's what the problem is, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I'm running on an older APK when people were losing their mics and things like that. You remember when you would get a mic and then it would take it away from you? That little deal that we went through probably a month ago. Yeah, so I downloaded a separate older version of Twitter and I turned off my updates. So that way I'm always operating on a previous version of Twitter. So it cured my problem, but when I get censored by Twitter, they basically throttle my ability to even tweet. I can't tweet. All I can do is like or retweet. That's what I'm limited to during this period of time. Last time it happened to me, I had to complain to Twitter. They removed it, but it was weeks and weeks of it. So really sucks. But and I just had a hard reset that I had to do, so that's another joy that comes with this. I have to do constant hard resets to just not be locked up. Civic, what's up, Civic?
What's up? Thanks for having me. Good morning. It's a really awesome day. I'm really looking forward to it. What's going on? What are we talking about?
Well, sometimes Marlon and I have lots of phone conversations. One of the things that we talked about was we kind of wanted to have people get together. Maybe you have a question that you'd like to ask President Trump, or maybe you might like if you could ask him anything, what would it be? Maybe get together just one question or two, DM us the questions. We'd like to present some questions if we ever get the opportunity to him. That would be great so that he could hear from the people. That's one thing we were talking about. And the other thing we were talking about was the taming of America. America has a lot of resources. We have a lot of land. Uh, there's a lot of resources that for some reason the government chooses not to utilize and make America, prosperous. And if we keep going down this path, other countries will move in and not necessarily move in, but business wise, they'll move in on these resources and start to tap into them. And if we get so indentured, that we have to start selling off access to these resources just to remain a country, that's a national threat. We could get into such debt to where we start letting foreign entities control the energy supply in our country, and profit from it and almost sell it back to us within our own country. It's basically if you were to look at it like a wild animal, like a beautiful horse, before you could ride the horse, you have to break the horse. Before you could tie it up to your cart to pull you around and do your bidding, you have to train it. And I think America is one of those things where we're still free and we're still wild and free to an extent. And I think that other entities want to harness us and use our country for their benefit, and have us fall to the wayside. So that's kind of what we were talking about in private. But there's other things we talk about, like local legislation and fighting against it. So we're going to talk about that too. Yeah, Marlon.
So he brings up a great point about fighting our locals. How do I sound here? I'm in between. Am I good?
Yeah, you're fine.
So I was with my state legislature this morning, and only one of them showed up. And he is the trucker in New Jersey who won. This is the guy who banged on 10,000 doors. So we were talking expressly on how we put the power back into people's hands. Now, this is a senator for the state of New Jersey. So this infection is starting. So this is what we're talking about.
Well, to take it one step further, Marlon, I wanted to also talk about early vote action and also VotifyNow. VotifyNow is a really great app that you can use to, give your perspective about candidates and deep dive candidates in your area. So please check it out. And we do have a spot for them on the MAGA Mission site, but you can go right to VotifyNow.org and you can download the app, and it's a phenomenal app. I just think it's going to do a lot of great things. But watch the videos, learn about it, and try and download it and use it, because if you're out boots on the ground, you need to have an app like our app or our website where you can register voters right there on the ground, or you can show them data on candidates in the area that you're on the ground. And VotifyNow allows you to do that. So it's a great app. I was actually going to maybe send out an invite to the founder of it. Maybe he'll join us. I haven't sent out any invites to anybody but you, Marlon. So.
So we'll see which way the conversation goes. Isn't that the best part of these spaces? You never know where it's going to go. Always tells a new story.
Well, I kind of wanted to talk to, that's why I was excited to have Civic in the room, because Civic does work that I'm not fully aware of, but I would love to hear about what Civic is doing to, it sounds like an interesting, organization, if you could call it that, the strategist team. So I'd like to hear about what he thinks his strategies are, or what would be good for the people to hear. If he's got anything to add, I'd love to hear his work.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, we get really active when campaign season ramps up and we build up on the team. Right now it's kind of off season. It's like 400 days until the next election or something like that. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be active and doing everything we can to make sure people are going to be registered to vote, going to be, getting involved with different kinds of election integrity operations going on, and even work getting involved, communicating with the different candidates and different campaigns out there. So I would suggest reach out to some of the local people that are running in your area, because if they've announced by now, they're probably serious about it. This is a perfect time of year to get involved, because it's before really the masses come, and you can probably get some one-on-one time with whoever you're interested in and see if it's really somebody that you want to dedicate your time to supporting and getting the word out there.
Well, exactly what you said, like contacting your local precinct committeeman or people that are running, or even all the way up to mayor. Votify Now, it really gives you the ability to focus on where you're at, because everybody's somewhere, in America, and this is nationwide. So gives you the information right where you are.
Yeah, and then I would just suggest doing some research on the candidates if there are a few, and a few running under uh, what party or banner you would support. So it's a competitive race most of the time. So if you do a little research on the candidates and you figure out which one you think is the strongest, it's good to be able to communicate why, and then why not. Like some candidates, I'll do some research, and some of the people I work with will try to figure out why it's probably not the best idea for them to run, and instead encourage them to keep up the work they're doing, but then maybe drop out eventually, or if they don't get the support of the people, we need the party to unify behind the right candidates if we're going to win. So
How are you getting that information out to the people? Tell me about that.
a lot of it's on the ground right now. It's a pretty small club. Like if you go to some of these local events in your areas, you'll meet some people it's a small world. So you'll probably get to meet the candidates, get to meet some of the people on their team and the volunteers, and get to see some of the people who are interested in maybe voting for that person. So if you get a chance to meet those people and go to events like that this summer, those will probably be the same faces you'll see all through the next 400 days until these elections really kick up and people get to voting.
Marlon, go ahead.
So, Civic, here's the problem that we have, right? So we have an infection of union money, and I dox myself on this platform every day. I'm in New Jersey, southern New Jersey, and the operators union has infected my GOP and has successfully split them. So there's a lot of nefarious even before the primary. So we talk about, getting started. When the Dems start, they start on November 9th, for the next year. That's what we need to be more proactive as voters. And sometimes that's tough, Civic. You're involved, you see it, especially with the Republican Party.
Yeah, that's true. That's really true. I think educating the youth is going to be really important because young people are not discouraged so much, and young people are not um, just like their morale is a lot higher. If you're an adult and you've seen how corrupt everything is, and kind of like you said, one group of people who are not going to be as affected and disenfranchised as like you, Marlon, um, by seeing how politics can really stab people in the back, and then you got like the people working against your own interests among your party, stuff like that. We'll just try to inform the young people as best you can because uh, really, there's a misconception that Gen Z is fully left wing, fully Democrat, but that's not the case actually. Uh, and I have the statistics. Really, it's almost pretty evenly split. So just make sure to try to educate the youth because they're going to really be high energy and they can really get the word out. And I don't think anybody wants to go against some well-educated youth and also some really sharp America First people. So yeah, that would be a really good thing to do. As far as like rooting out union money within your party, there are going to be certain power figures that will be aligned with you on that side. I would suggest trying to communicate with them and just keep on doing what you're doing, trying to raise awareness. But make sure you're networking with the people who are aligned with you, and understand that union money is involved.
Yeah. So let me give you a classic example. And I've been against the East Coast Wind Project since the beginning. It's the reason I'm even on Twitter. And the progression of the infection of money has gone through my state like a wildfire. And it's even to the point where now they're influencing the elections because they're backing the weaker Republican. So if the weaker Republican gets past the primary, well, it's a slam dunk for November, brother. You know, they got it mapped out before we even start fighting. So yeah, man, I am a big proponent to start. Yes.
Are you Civic? Is your organization pretty much neutral, or are you leaning in any political direction?
Well, the kind of candidate that I prefer myself personally, and really my whole team, uh, are really America First people, and some of them may be former Democrats. Uh, they feel like the party completely abandoned them. Some of them are lifelong Republicans or never have voted before, totally independent. So a lot of these candidates I support actually have this platform where they say, it's not about Republican, it's not about Democrat anymore. Yeah, maybe running on the Republican ticket and really counting on the GOP, but also trying to attract those Democrats and also calling out the rhinos. Uh, and so, really, you got to have an independent mindset to be able to have critical thinking. This is how I feel, anyway. Um, and then not be extremely biased. Like even RFK, what he's doing in the Democrat Party is great. Uh, start bringing some new information to those people because it's like an echo chamber over there. So yeah, I do think I'm kind of neutral, but my take of neutral is like, okay, Roe got overturned, and that's just democracy for you. That's like the center, if you ask me, like to respect that decision. Um, and so, like, also what I think is a centrist view is that the Second Amendment is totally absolute and you can't infringe on people's rights to own firearms. So, like, these things are, I think, what used to be considered common interest, common agreeable things among both parties, where like the center is. But I think the news has really skewed what people think of as the center and what's far left or far right. So yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Matt, you mind? I'm going to jump in there. I'm sorry. Um, you know, you bring up great points, Civic. The the process is the problem in my county, and when I talk about the process, I'm talking about your precinct committeemen and the power that they hold, and how my township has constructed the bylaws to allow that my GOP chair gets the final decision throughout the county on all the different candidates. This is they have taken the people's vote out of it, and it's manipulated behind doors, and it's a popularity contest. And I'm sure this goes on in a lot of different states. So this is again, we just had a vote in the state of New Jersey for an additional $250 billion to the East Coast Wind Project. So how do we combat it? So we combat it on the next time that they're going to go and ask for money, and it passed, right? they're leveraging New Jersey's future on this East Coast wind project. That's what they're doing. So at the end of the day, we need to go and strengthen the no votes that we already have. We need to go strengthen the people that are already saying no to this, and then work on the intermediates or the abstain vote, right? So that's what happened in New Jersey. If the 2 Republicans and 3 Democrats had voted on this, it would not have passed. So this is the new technique. Let's abstain from the vote, and we'll let them take the wrath for it. So they're starting to be called out, especially now that I have the list of the no votes, and we're going to see what else they voted on and get that exposed onto Twitter and get it out on Google through the site. So this is the new action, Civic. So I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks, guys. I'm going to make a quick coffee, but I'm still here.
Definitely, man. Hang out with us. I wanted to say good morning, good afternoon to Advocate. Are you there, Advocate? She might be locked up. Advocate, I'm going to drop you down and see if that helps. Good morning, Shane. Good to see you, everybody that showed up. And if you could, please retweet the space. I'm getting dinged by Twitter, so I can't do it. I really can't promote anything, so kind of depends on the people coming in today. So I appreciate all the help. It's good to see everybody and all the new faces.
And hey, I want to extend something to Chris down there. So Chris, today I was with my state legislature that's a truck driver, and he got an earful about NOAA today. So this is on their radar. This is coming forth, Chris. So I'm hoping maybe you can step up and maybe say something. I hope you're in a good enough area. Just want to say hello to Grim. What's up, Grim?
Oh yeah, Grim's in the house. What's up, brother? Throw you a mic. The other premise when we first started the room, I'm really serious about, getting the feedback from the public. If there was any question that you could ask President Trump, what would it be? If you had something that you wanted to say to President Trump, what would it be? You can DM me, you can DM Marlon. We're compiling a list of questions from the public and statements from the public. So we want to compile that together, and if we ever have the opportunity, we'll ask those questions of President Trump for you.
Hey, and I forgot to tell you, my younger son Matthew, he could do a Trump impression almost as good as we had somebody come in here and do that impression for us.
Get out. Matthew's getting good at the Trump voice.
Oh, he's got the lean, he's got the tone. Yeah, he's pretty good at it. Maybe that guy was incredible, but yeah, he's definitely a runner-up.
That's funny. Yeah, that would be great. Chris, what's happening, bro?
Hey, not much. So appreciate what you're doing, Marlon and MAGA. I mean, you guys are doing great. So Marlon, what did you actually want me to speak on?
So basically, obviously, I like NOAA. I like the whole thing about it, right? I'm going to do everything in my power to push this organization forward. So the steps that we're going to take is I just happened to be with Ed Durr, the state senator that's a truck driver, and he got an earful of NOAA today. And it's on the radar. A lot of the chief of staffs in the state know this is coming, Chris. So I want you to realize that, man, this is a good time.
Yeah, it is. And I believe wasn't he on a Twitter space the other day with you and you brought it up, and talked to him on the Twitter space the other day?
No, that was actually Shane. I
No,
brought
no,
another
I
left.
know Shane. I know Shane. Um, there was another legislator that was a truck driver as well that came
Edward
up on
Durst.
us. Yeah, I think it was. I can't remember the guy's name. It was the first time I seen him on the space.
Yeah, that was Shane's representative, buddy of his, state senator from
Oh
Wisconsin.
yeah. Shane did bring him up. Yeah.
Minnesota.
Gentlemen, I hate to interrupt, but Shane's in the room. Can we give him the mic so he can speak on this? Thanks, Chris and
Sorry.
Marlon. Yeah, we're talking about him. He's right here in the room. So please, Shane, good morning, good afternoon. How you doing, buddy? Shane, you with us? All right. I guess, Shane, if you can hear me, maybe he has to drop down. Yeah, he's having connection issues, so we'll bring him back. Great. Anyways, sorry for that interruption, gentlemen. Just thought maybe he was going to be able to speak.
Yeah, it's okay. I appreciate you guys pushing Noah. I mean, I'm trying to push it as well as much as I can. I mean, we're trying to get this thing going, and I'm actually going to start trying to get some loads for Noah here pretty soon too, for the members and for myself. So hopefully it works out.
Great. Well, we had X-Man step up, and so I'm going to turn the floor to X-Man. Do you got a mic, X-Man? Can you hear me? And how you doing? You have the floor, X-Man. Go ahead.
Here you're clear, 5x5. Yeah, you guys just I just tuned in. You guys are talking about questions you would ask Trump if you ever got him got a chance to ask him. I've always been curious about what him and Obama talked about in the Oval Office when in 16, right after Trump won and he went to go visit Obama there. Typically that's a ceremonial thing and it's supposed to last like 15, 20 minutes of just, probably not, nonsense bullshit. But they were in there for almost 2 hours. And part of me thinks that some really important stuff happened in that meeting, and I'd love to know why. I don't think he'll ever divulge that, but it's always something that's always stuck in my head. Like, what did they possibly talk about? And if I come up with another question, I'll let you know. But go ahead.
Well, I wrote it down, and X-Man, that's great. I appreciate the question, and don't think for a second that everyone that is either running for president or running for Congress or Senate isn't on this platform or isn't listening. We're recording the spaces, we're putting it out on YouTube. So your question might be heard, and you never know. So that's why we're asking the question. We want the people's voices to be documented and heard by politicians, and it's really important. So thank you so much for coming up today, X-Man. Please hang out and think of another one. Great question. Marlon.
So, hey, I'm going through a sketchy area. I don't want to bring Brandy up, so can you just take care of the mics for us? Sorry, buddy.
I got it. I'll bring people up when I get to it. And yeah, you're in a sketchy area. It's all right. I got the mics. You don't need to worry about anything, but just be your beautiful Marlon self, Mr. Marlon.
It's hot out. My scales are.
You better jump in the ocean. Aren't you near the water? Come on. Get back in the water. You need some H2O, bro. Brandy, how's it going, Brandy? Glad to have you
It's
up.
going good. How are you guys? Is it pretty where y'all are? I have beautiful weather here in Texas today. Hot, but beautiful.
Yeah, we're doing a like usual. We've been warming up for like 30 minutes. We've been talking about local legislation and getting people active. I really encourage people to look at early vote action, the work that Scott Pressler's been doing, and there's things on his app that you can learn. You can join the fight. You can use the app in the field when you're boots on the ground and you're registering voters or talking to people about what's going on in America in your area. And then VotifyNow is another app that I really, really want people to download and go check out. It's going to be a powerful tool. And if you want to have your voice heard, all you have to do is enter in what you have to say. And it collects all of everybody's thoughts and data about certain candidates and compiles it in one place so they can be rated and vetted. It's just a great the digital age is going to be. It's funny because they censored us using the digital age, but it's actually the digital age that we're going to actually use the digital signature back in the opposite direction to fight and to win. So the digital age is a beautiful thing. We're embarking on a new adventure here with this. So Miranda.
Hey, I want to introduce you guys to Jeanette. She's in the room. She's got the pink shirt on. She, I don't know if she runs it or if she's a huge part of it, but We the People Arizona Alliance. She would probably be a good contributor on this topic.
Yeah, I'm handing out mics to people when they request, but I see her and I'll throw her a mic right now if she wants to step up. I want to hear from people I've never talked to before as well. So the rooms are for me to connect with the people I already know and learn more about them and have a deeper friendship and relationship. And then I want to meet new people too and hear what they have to say that I've never talked to before. So it's exciting. Jeanette, how you doing, Jeanette?
Good morning. Well, it's morning here. Um, yeah, I volunteer with We the People AZ Alliance. We're an election integrity group out of Arizona. It's our founders are Shelby Bush and Steve Robinson, and they worked with the 2020 election, and we're also on the legal team now for Carrie and Abe Hamadeh. So we're very involved here in Arizona. And then I'm a huge advocate for becoming a precinct committeeman and then also volunteering for local Republican clubs or, anywhere you could get your hands on to go talk to people.
Was there a .com for that?
Let me hold on. Let me get their website. Give me one.
Yeah, Jeanette, what I want you to do, everybody in the space, if you have something that's a .com or an organization that you're working with, please just put them down in the comments down below so that it'll stay with the space forever and then people can find this stuff. Because every single one of these organizations and every person in this room is going to make a difference. And we need everybody on board. And I don't care how many apps it takes. I don't care how many people with boots on the ground or organizations. We need to coalesce and galvanize as a team, as a unit. So yeah, if you have a .com, Jeanette, I want to know about it. And so please tell me some more about this organization, what you're working on.
Oh my gosh, sorry, I took a bite.
Yeah, I got you there. That you're trying to get a snack. You're trying to get your morning Scooby snacks, and I'm interrupting
That's
that.
okay. So the part that I do is I'm their PR and social media director. So I do all of their social media, anything that PR related, I guess you could say. And they do like voter roll cleanups. They do signature verification. Oh, God, we do. So, there's things that we do that I can't even say. But
Voter roll cleanups, sorry to interrupt. Voter roll cleanups is something that VotifyNow does, and I think anybody doing that work is vital. So we definitely need to work on that. So that's great.
yeah, and I'm a PC. I'm a precinct committeeman here in Arizona, and they just told us at our last meeting that they're looking for PCs to. They're gonna have a project for voter roll cleanup to hopefully finish everything by next election. So they had a meeting this Thursday. I didn't get to go to it, but there's like a lot of volunteers getting ready to do that here in Arizona, which is awesome.
Do you find that there's not enough seats filled, or how many seats are filled in your precinct?
Okay, my precinct has, I think, 240, like 9. Well, my precinct itself, I'm the only one. But like my legislative district, we have 249, and there's only like 15 of us, maybe, that show up to the meetings. So it's like, but I'm in a really blue district. Like we've been blue for over 20 years. So it's more difficult in my district because there's other districts across Phoenix that they're full.
Right. Well, the goal is to get more people to get involved and stuff. So, Jeanette, we got a lot to work on together. So please, let's keep the connection between us and talk about it, because maybe we can both help each other. I can help you, and that's our mission is your mission. If you're working towards saving America and America first values, and we need to have more people like you. And so, great stuff, Marlon. Please, and then we got to get to Shane, brother man. So please, Marlon, go and then hand it off to Shane.
Let's see, is Shane ready now?
Shane is looking at you right now. Yes, he's present.
Yeah, no, I don't know if he's ready. If he's ready, I'd like to talk to him.
Oh, yeah, okay. I was gonna call on him next. So thanks, Marlon. Shane, how you doing? You're back with us. Do you have a mic, bud? Now.
I just want to say hi to everyone. Great conversation so far, and I've learned a lot, and I absolutely love this. We're trying to figure out in Massachusetts how to fix what's going on. We have 190 seats that are not filled, and our GOP head will not get back to us. We have no idea what to do, where to go. So this space is so important for me to be a part of, and I'm just happy and glad to be here. Yay! What Shane left. He went to listen.
No, can you hear me,
I can
Advocate?
hear you. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So I asked him to speak. He couldn't speak, so I have no idea if he's locked up or not. So I dropped him down and I sent him another invite to come up when he's ready to speak. So
That's why I
yeah,
jumped
it's
in.
all
It
good.
was the awkward silence, and we all know I can't.
Oh,
The awkward
yeah, no,
silence is what I
yeah.
can't do.
Don't worry about it. I'll jump in. Trust me, I'm fired up today. I'm bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and all over it. So you don't need to worry about
Sounds
that.
good. Plus, I wanted to
Yeah.
say hi to everybody, but Marlon has his hand up, so I will pull into the station.
Thank you, dear. So, Jeanette, awesome being a PC. That infection. So obviously, you're familiar with Christian Lamar?
I am familiar with Christian Lamar.
So I have my own struggles in New Jersey with precinct committeemen and the way that the structure of the bylaws in my particular county mirrors a Democratic county. My particular county was Democrat ruled for 30 years, and we finally won control of the board, right? So, big deal. And now we realize that big deal, these candidates coming forward, we realize that our share has the plan to work. So, whatever the popularity contest or influence of money brings the different candidates forward, we're proposing to go back, change the bylaws, and put the power back in the PCs and the people's hands to bring these candidates forward. So my GOP in my particular state is successfully split because of money. So I'm glad you came up, because there's a lot of things in common that Arizona has with New Jersey. And just talking to all the legislature from Arizona, it's the same story. So I'm glad you came up.
Thank you. Yeah. And I'm always like learning something new every time that I go into these spaces. I was actually a candidate. I was a write in candidate last year, because I saw that there was no Republican representatives or campaigns in my area. So I was like, what the heck is going on? And I was like, I'm just going to put my name in. And, it was a huge learning curve, but I took the first step in like getting involved. And now I'm like super involved. It's like once you see the corruption or you see the process of things, you can't turn back. Like everyone's like, you could just stop doing things. I'm like, no, now I can't. Like now I know, and now people need more people to be involved instead of like turning away from it once they see it.
So, so the reason that I expanded that is with my state legislature, one of my senate, and he's the guy that I just want to give you a premise. He
Marlon,
was
I'm
the truck
sorry,
driver.
I can't hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're kind of breaking up a little bit. I can get what you're saying, but yeah, Marlon is kind of boots on the ground right now. He's actually heading towards, or I don't know if you've arrived yet. I think you arrived and you're on the ground somewhere, doing some work. So I wanted to have him talk about it. Marlon, try and reset, and we'll go. We'll rotate and see if you get some better reception, brother. Just hang on for a second. Chris, go ahead, jump in.
Hey, Marlon, I would love to speak to that Edgar guy that you were talking about. I'm kind of get a feel for him and probably get in touch with Mike with him too. Um, but yeah, I'll leave it there. And I might be losing service here soon, so you guys could drop me if you want. I'm driving through New Mexico. New Mexico is notorious for bad service.
Well, you're coming through loud and clear for me. So far, Marlon's the one that's having the issue. Marlon, come back, buddy. Give me a mic check.
How about now? How about now?
Yeah. Go ahead and repeat what you were saying to Jeanette, please.
So, Jeanette, I've been a big proponent against the East Coast Wind Project, the windmills that they want to do offshore. And we were down at a rally today in Atlantic City, hands on the beach, and it went from New York all the way down to Virginia. And at 11 o'clock, we all went on the beach and held hands down the beach, and it was good. It's a good statement. So I'm standing next to my legislator, my Senate guy. He's also the guy that backed on 10,000 doors to get himself elected. So it's achievable. But the thing about it was able to get directly in his ear and about the voting process that affects his constituents. And he's been really going at it, just very thankful to talk about it with somebody that had some kind of conception on what the power is that we actually have in our cities. So this was the discussion today. Different today.
You're starting to robot again a little bit, but I think you were discussing the power of censures with him. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, affirmative. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of people that are, in this game that aren't using the same tactics that Christian Lamar is laying out, and the power of the censure. And I think, from what I understood from the conversation, Marlon's been kind of having that discussion with Senator Edward Durr. Mic check, Marlon. You back? Yeah, you're breaking up, but it's all right. We'll reset and we'll come back to you, but just hang on. So I wanted to ask Jeanette, I don't know if you can think of something, but if you have a question or a request or a statement that you could make to President Trump, what would it be? And I'm asking that question of everybody. I don't know if you got something that comes to mind, maybe that you would want to talk to him about, even if it's a subject or whatever.
I think I know, I don't think it would be the conversation around the border and Hispanic voters. I think the way Hispanic voters feel about the conversation makes it feel like they're attacked instead of actually explaining why it's a big concern. Um, and that's from me being on the ground talking to people, and they're like, well, we feel like they're attacking us. And I have to explain, like, it's not us specifically. And then I'll explain, like, it's not only Hispanics, it's like African, European, and Middle Eastern people, Chinese people that are coming through the border. And, it's a big problem. The reason that Hispanics are called out is because of the cartel, but it's not like every Hispanic, but people feel attacked that way. And it's people that are uneducated about the situation. So I think changing the conversation around that would help get it more Hispanic voters. Because Hispanic people are naturally conservatives. Their beliefs are family, God, and life. And, some of them don't vote just because of their hatred towards that narrative, which is really sad because not voting a certain way because you hate one man is rude. Like, look at where our country is now. So I think that's a conversation I would love to have with him if I
So,
ever had the
so
chance.
you feel as though the sentiment of the Hispanic community is that they're being put into a defining box. They feel like they're being put into a box. That's how I think of it.
Yes.
Being defined. They don't like being defined or placed into a box or lumped in or associated with or tied to what's going on at the border. But I don't think Americans. I don't know if that's really what Americans are doing. I
They're
think
not.
that
That's exactly the thing.
I know they feel it, and that's
Correct.
important. If you feel something, that's your reality. So we do need to pay attention to that.
Yeah. And I don't feel that way. Like, I am very aware of what is. I know how bad the situation is. I've gone to the border. I've walked it. I've seen the trash. I've seen the drugs and everything. I've lived in East LA where um, the the gangs and the cartel ran the streets. So I understand. But people who don't live that and just hear the narrative, they're the ones that feel attacked, even though I know they're not. So I'm only one person who's able to talk to so many people in a day.
Well, if these Hispanic persons are actual citizens and voters, they should know that that's their right to vote, and that they should be just as concerned as any other American. I'm sure they are with the border being, porous. And then I think at the crux of the discussion, I think you could bridge the gap by saying most conservatives, or what you're feeling is America's desire to secure the border, one, remain sovereign, and number two, the feeling is that they may be misinterpreting is that we want voting integrity, we want election integrity, and it's very important that we make sure that every vote is valid, and then there's a move to try, the Democrat side is trying to, there's the theory, you bring in a bunch of people, now you have more Democratic votes. So there's that theory too. But I would relay to them that, a sovereign border is important, and that maybe see if you could bridge the gap with those talking points. I don't know.
I mean,
That's a shame that they feel that way, though, if that's
I
really
do.
true.
I bridge the gap with everyone that I speak to, but then they go out in the world and have conversations with other people that don't speak the way I do about it, and they're always like, everyone's racist. I'm like, no, they're not. Like, they're not. You're just not listening to them because you already haven't always listening of what you think the conversation was, and it's not that anymore.
Yeah, there it is. There it is, right there. Okay, you want to stop people want to stop immigration because they think we're taking your jobs, and they don't want us to come across the border. Da, 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 da. It's obviously racist to feel that way. And I think what you got to relay to them is like, no, we want to retain your rights as a citizen. I mean, you're here legally. Don't you want to keep the rights that you've been given as a citizen? No, we're fighting for your rights And that's what the fight you see. And it's not about race. It's not about any of that. It's about being a sovereign nation and securing the rights of American citizens and their prosperity and their happiness. So yeah, this is a difficult perception to break through, and I see the challenge. Really great, really great to bring that to the table. Thank you, Jeanette. That's really deep. I like it. uh, I don't like the division, and I would and we don't act that way. At least I haven't in any of our spaces. I haven't heard us really isolating any group, or putting them out,
Oh yeah,
or putting them in a box.
not
But
on
it
not on
happens.
Twitter. I'm talking about like,
Yeah, out on the street.
yeah,
The sentiment and that's important. Community what's going on the street. Yeah.
yeah, because I live in a Hispanic community, so it's like all the time I get a chance, I talk to people about something.
You know what, Jeanette? I live in a almost 100% Hispanic community. I live in an area that it's not very high income. I have a very modest little one bedroom little. It's like a mini house. Like it was built probably in the 50s. It's got bad insulation, old electrical. Everything's old in this thing, and it gets hot, really hot in the summertime, and really cold in the winter. It's difficult to keep the temperature right. But what I want to paint a picture of is I've placed myself in a neighborhood where it's almost predominantly all Latino, and my neighbor to my right, my neighbor to my left, my neighbor across the street, we're like a family. They look out. Everybody on this street looks out for everybody. There's no funny business. I'm in a overall, I'm in a really dangerous city or area, but in this community, at least, I've niched myself in here and I've made friends with this community. And I can tell you, they are family. They're about working hard. They're about looking out for each other. They're about God. They, all of the values that they have around here, I love. And these people are my friends. And all I can say is, uh, what I'm trying to say is when I thought to myself, where am I going to live? I want to live somewhere where I'm safe, right? But because I've done a lot of martial arts and because I've lived a pretty relatively dangerous life my whole life, I kind of was like, no, I'm going to go there. I'm going to get a place there, and I'm just going to experience it and be there and not worry about it. And I can tell you, it's been a really enriching experience. Where somebody might say, "No, I would never live there." This is scary. Yeah. Well, it was scary. I got to say, I'm a white guy in a predominantly, low income area, and you could be scared. But when you bridge the gap and you make friends, you realize everybody on your block is just another human being, and we're all looking out for each other, and we all love America, and we all love each other. So there it is in a nutshell. Anyways, that's how you bridge that gap there, if you can, in your community. Brandy, hey, what's up? How you doing?
Hey, so I went down to listen earlier because I couldn't hear, and then I came back because I felt called to listen more. Voting has always been something that I was like, oh man, I don't want to even think about it, but I do it, right? But I found something I can contribute to because I heard y'all talking border, and I didn't make the real connection until Jeanette was just talking. Um, Last year, I was sitting with a Border Patrol whistleblower who still works for the Border Patrol. And he's doing everything he can to stay in it because he sees what's happening with the children. But one of the things he told us, and we were discussing during that meeting, was the fact that he has seen Social Security numbers being given out to illegal migrants as they come through the southern border of Texas. And so when I heard her talking, I thought, oh my goodness. We have people with Social Security numbers, which means they get a voter registration card with a Social Security number. We have to have ID verification because we have so many people walking around with access to vote that aren't even here legally contributing to the system they're going to be voting in. Yeah, that's a major issue. And I just think about so much already. I hadn't thought about that lately and put those together, but wow, it's definitely something we got to pay
Well,
attention to.
well, Brandy, I mean, I dated a girl a long time ago. She was from the Netherlands. Her dad came over here on a work visa. You know, he was paying taxes. She was working and paying taxes. She had a number issued to her, you know, so that she could do that. And I don't know if you can call it a social security number, but the reality is those numbers are so that you can process and file taxes and have, you know, have that process happen. So it, she wasn't legally a citizen. It didn't make her a citizen. In fact, she was like saying, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay here. My time here is running out. You know, so, but she had a number, and what she would do is she would do all kinds of things to keep working and paying taxes. But I'm going to keep moving. Thank you so much, Brandy, for alerting us to the possibility that's going on. Brad, good to see you, Brad, and how you doing? You've been really patient.
I'm doing great. How is everybody else?
We're doing great, buddy.
I know. I just want to say to the young lady's point, I don't know who was talking at that time. Don't worry about the word racist. It's watered down. It's stupid. It's not even there. And the Democrats screwed up by trying to push a Latinx, Latinx, Latino, whatever you want to say it, to try to like make Hispanics an entire monolith. Cubans don't get along with pretty much the rest of the Hispanics. Puerto Ricans think that, you know, they don't get along. And there's differences from New Mexico to New York. If you had someone who's of Hispanic heritage in New York City, they're not going to be the same wants and needs, nor are they going to look at politics the same way as somebody in New Mexico. Screw it. When you hear that racist thing, it's actually just a perfect thing for you to go through and say, yeah, you're right. I may be racist because I want Americans to succeed, and that includes all
Well,
cultures.
I'm also Hispanic. I'm Guatemalan.
Yeah, see, so there you go. That's your perfect point to just sit there and say, you know what? I don't want to have economic ties that keep you in poverty. I don't want you to have decreased, housing prices. I want you to be able to manifest your dreams here and succeed. And this is what I want to do. I don't want to be the Democrats to make sure that I pull the rug out of you for the minute that you get up there, unless you vote a certain way for me, and then I'll give you the crumbs off the table. You just hit them with it. And the other thing I would say is, we have to be careful more with who we let into the party and vet people a little bit better. I get the election interference, and that's a big concern of mine. And my concern is that Trump wasn't really good on the ground in the 2020. He had a lot to deal with. There was a worldwide pandemic. There were food shortages. There was a lot of crap going on. We knew the Democrats were going to cheat in 2016. They said it. They said, now is the time to impeach the president. And they went through, they tried it once. They tried to stymie his bills. They tried to do a lot of things from his agenda, including Republicans. So the idea that we didn't know a lot of BS was going to go on at some point isn't true. And I blame Trump and his administration, particularly Kushner and his daughters, for not actually putting lawyers and people on the ground, teams on the ground in those swing states, at those polling districts ahead of time, like months ahead of time, to ensure, to actually go to court and make sure that states were following laws and that the legislation was going ahead and doing it when secretaries didn't fail. So, I mean, there's a lot going on. But I think overall, we need to start vetting candidates a little bit better, because now we have a whole bunch of people who just don't like Biden and are jumping on the Trump thing, saying election integrity and all of that. And I'm happy for it. But when you listen to their policy plans, they mirror the very people and their plans that make San Francisco what it is today, or what Philadelphia is today, or what Chicago is today. And I'm getting very concerned about the growing number of these inspirational people that come in here and say, you know what, we need more federal power in my private business or in my private home. We need to have more control over the schools in this state by a federal assumption. And I'm going, that sounds a lot like the progressives who have no good ideas ever, and everything they try seems to end in ruin. I don't want the federal government in my life. I'm a conservative. I believe in that. And they're kind of okay. They're even open to taking away gun rights and doing things around that. And I'm kind of getting concerned that we're
Yeah.
getting overshadowed.
Yeah, I hear you, Brad. And Brad, I don't know if you thought of this, but if there was anything you could ask President Trump or tell him, what would you say? And I know that's maybe a big question. I know some people get tied up with if I don't say the right thing, but just kind of search your heart there, Brad. If you have something now, or if you want to say it later.
I do. I would ask President Trump, since you failed to uphold religious freedom of people, Christians, of all faiths, are you going to do this in the future? Are you really, truly going to fight for it? Because you didn't unleash that DOJ. And to date, 90% of pro-life centers are under attack. It's not abortion clinics. And 553 churches have been burned, vandalized, or assaulted on. And there's nothing done, and Christian things. And it seems that it's okay to make fun of a Christian thing like the LA Dodgers thing. But, God forbid if you say anything that's against a Judaism or Muslim, then all of a sudden it becomes racist.
You know what, Brad? I think more poignant would be to state that you would like to see Christians not labeled as extremists or something negative, that needs to be striked.
Absolutely. I
I'd
don't like
really
that
hate
label as theirs.
I really don't like the assumption with Christianity and color and extremist or anything negative. They keep trying to paint Christians as the new extreme, and it's just outrageous. But I don't know if that's necessary. I mean, I don't know how he's responsible for, like, I don't know. I want to circle back on that because you're holding them to something like the burning of churches and all these things. It's a lot of stuff to unpack. So maybe refine it a little bit. Jeanette, please, and then we got to go to Shane.
Oh, you can let Shane go. Hi, Shane.
All right, that's great. Thank you, Jeanette. You're so great. Shane, how you doing, buddy? You've been really patient and you had some connection issues. What's up?
Well, actually, I had a phone call there too. So, being the title of this room is part of it is early vote action. I just want to let you all know that for a conservative individual that lives in a very blue state, I do have Scott Pressler coming here next week, and the son of a bitch called me at 6:56 this morning. It was the funniest thing. I'm like, who the hell's calling me now? But so we talked at length. It was, I say son of a bitch in a kind way, not a bad way. I was just like, wow, half awake, and I hear my phone. Oh. All right. But I guess I did it to him yesterday because he had to do radio interviews yesterday to announce his arrival coming in a week. And I kind of woke him up yesterday morning going, dude, you got to be on the radio in like 10 minutes. Are you up? So anyway, this is a really big, important thing. The person that was talking about Social Security numbers being issued at the border, it's a good segue into what's been happening in the liberal states. So, like, I believe Michigan did it. I know Minnesota did it because I have to live through that hell. And I believe Oregon or Washington State did the same thing. So now we have license for illegals. Within that, there is no identifying markers that it's an illegal person. So the license looks exactly the same as everybody else's license. About 2 months later, 6 weeks to 8 weeks later, they passed automatic voter registration on all new licensees. So when your 16-year-old kid goes and gets their license, they're automatically registered to vote in 2 years. How does that tie into the illegals having license? They say that they wouldn't go break the law, but it doesn't mean there's not going to be an automatic mail-in ballot mailed to them. How do you equate the two of them? So this is why these are the new rules they're putting in force. Then they push this through in the states they have the control of rapidly. I mean, what was going through the Minnesota House legislature this year was at a pace that has never been seen before. And for the people that have roamed those Capitol halls for 3-4 decades, they had never seen anything like it. Both probably those that leaned left and the ones that leaned right. I mean, they had never seen anything like this. It's because they knew, in my opinion, they know they overplayed their hand in 2020. They've been on this full overbearing security nonsense ever since because they did it under the guise of the pandemic. But really what it was is they were afraid of the public. They put security measures in place so people can't get to our offices now unless we go down and escort them in. That's the way it was for quite a while. And some days they weren't even allowed in because apparently I think it was like Mondays and Thursdays, the pandemic was still really bad, so there couldn't be anybody allowed in the state office building. But the other 2 days out of the week, they were allowed by appointment only. It's just bizarre. And then if you went to, like, just to give it a little example, so the second floor is 100% Republican state reps. The third floor is 50-50, and then the fourth floor is 100% Democrat. There were security guards on the third and fourth floor on both sides of the elevators. There was no security guards in the second floor. So there was something they're afraid of, but only on their floors. And they had a big fence up, kind of like they did in D.C. They had a big fence around the entire Capitol. It was very restricted for a long time. And I'm of the opinion they know they overplayed their hand, but they also know that 2024 is in the balance if they don't push it further. And that's why a lot of these laws were passed. So that's where Pressler comes into this going, hey, if this is the rules they're going to create, we got to outwork them at the new rules. If Milton Bradley changes the rules to a given board game, and you choose to continue to be the old curmudgeon dad and say, I'm not playing by the new rules, I'm playing by the old rules, well, your 6-year-old kid's going to beat your ass every time. It's kind of where I'm at, because I was on the path last year of saying, no, we got to stick to election day. We got to do it this way, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm in a very conservative area. I'm fine. But the swing areas, like the swing states, they didn't fare so well. We were promised a red wave. It didn't happen. They outmaneuvered us once again. So let's play by their rules. Let's try it. I mean, what the hell is the worst thing that's going to happen? They're going to beat us again. Well, eventually, if they keep cheating, the outcome is the outcome. At some point, the people are going to rebel against it. And I'm of the point that if we can avoid that at all costs, the better off we are. So there's my 2 cents for the day.
That's some great stuff. Marlon, please jump in.
How you doing, buddy? Thanks. Sorry for the connection problems, but jumping in with the early vote action, I'll be honest with you, Shane, I really didn't see the dots until I went and I spoke with him and saw the action and the data that he had behind it. I think that was the concrete for me, like a light bulb went off. Like, yes, why aren't we doing it? Why didn't we do this last year?
It's kind of the same reason, Marlon, why people they get turned off from listening to the other person's argument. I mean, a lot of people see it as dishonorable or something they don't want to encourage, but if the tools are being used and they're legal and that's what they're doing, we need to, like Shane said, play the game by the rules or the new rules and explore the boundaries within that matrix, that operating system. Don't let your opinion stop you from using the tools that are there on the board and sit there and say, well, I don't like those rules, so I'm not going to do that. Well, but it's there. You got to win the game. If you're going to play the game, explore all the rules to the work it to the nth degree that you can. Jeanette.
I forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay. I forget what I'm going to say every day.
Let me give Jeanette a minute to think of that, because I think everybody knows some guy that may or may not have created a pillow or something. So
yes, I do.
I got scolded by him this last week because of bringing Scott here because he doesn't agree. And the same individual happens to live in my state, by the way. And I'm like, dude, I agree with 90% of what you say, but I can't change anything in the minority. And even if we had the majority in the House, the Senate's not going to pass it. So until we get the majority in the Senate, that's all fine and good. But if we still have a Democrat liberal governor, he's just going to veto it. So the only way to change this is to beat them at their own game. I can't find another mental pathway around this. And if you listen, I mean, I can see if I'll try to, I have somebody working on it, to do the clip of the interview that Scott did yesterday morning. And I listened to his interview in the context of the person who's against Scott. It's how I wanted to listen to it. And if you listen to how he explained everything, he did an amazing job of like completely diffusing all of that argument. and then he did it again yesterday afternoon, and I am so looking forward to get the privilege of picking him up week. So I get like an hour and a half time just like between the airport and where we got to be. And so that's going to be like wonderful. And then we're going to do on air interviews on Friday, and then we have the event on Saturday. So apparently, my whole latter part of the week is all things Scott Pressler, but it'll be fun. And I have a quaint group of elected reps and senators that are coming to a dinner on Friday night, and a few other key people. And then we're having this event on Saturday, so there's going to be a lot of information. He's also, so the whole point of this, he'll come in, he lays out the groundwork. This is what I think you all need to do, based on the goofy laws that you guys have passed or adopted, what have you. Whether you like it or not, this is what you have. Then he's willing to come back and go into those particular swing areas that are so important and work with those, either the ones that barely got elected last time, and or the new ones, to get them elected, and work with them for a half a day or a day on each individual district. And he's willing to do all this. So, and I don't, the guy is so damn humble, and like, this is his passion. Like, I don't know. All he asked me for was just cover my airfare and hotel and, my travel expenses stuff. I'm like, well, no, I'm sending you out of here wanting to come back. I'm going to make sure it's not quite that little. So I'll do the best I can. But, he's done an amazing amount of work, and the guy doesn't stop. He drinks a lot of coffee. It's the funniest thing ever. And I don't know if there's a better way out of this than that, because I mean he identifies all the same arguments, but how do we overturn that? How do we correct it? Well, we can't do it in the minority. So that's the really important thing right now.
Hey Shane, I'm in District 6 in Minnesota. You can overturn it by fighting it in the courts, because the courts have gone back to an originalist position, and you see that going down to the state courts. Yeah, there's some wonkiness there, and I understand Waltz is a nut job, but you can kind of start pushing back and having outside PACs start fighting that in the courts. That would be the best way to really go, because we're seeing a lot of success, local, state, and federal, on that level.
When you say District 6, which are you referring to, congressional district or House district? What? Well, you and I are in the same district then. So I don't know. DM me off.
Beer in the fridge. There's really great scotch up on the bar. The back door is always open, and just light the fire pit. Don't let the dog run too far off.
Well,
there you go.
Who is this that's talking right now?
Brad.
My name's Brad.
Where the hell is Brad?
Don't forget.
Oh, there it is. No, I found it. There we go.
Hey, gentlemen, I just want to take a quick segue for a second to thank everybody that showed up today. I see the room filling up. Please help us out by retweeting the space so everybody's voices can be heard. We're recording the space. Don't let your hearts be troubled about that. We post the videos on YouTube. You can always get a recording later, and it'll be unredacted, and it'll be the full space, all the good, the bad, the ugly. It'll all be there to review. But I just want to thank everybody for coming in, and please retweet the space, please. And real quick, guys, I want to turn back to Advocate. Just check in on her. Advocate, how you doing, hon?
I'm good. How bizarre was it? I was quiet this whole time, but I was taking notes. It was very
Good.
informative and stuff. Well, I didn't have a lot to contribute. It's not really my wheelhouse, but I'm learning a lot. So I think that's a positive thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but Advocate, have you thought about what you would ask President Trump if you could?
I was actually just saying that to my mom. I would ask him for a new cell phone so I can do my job properly and be able to support him and endorse him and get him back into the office where he belongs. And she laughed at me. But no, in all seriousness, I would ask him about, he talks about the education and the kids and the indoctrination and getting rid of certain curriculums. And I would ask him, like, truly, do you feel that way? And what is your plan to end that? This is the steps I'm taking. How can we collaborate together to make this actually happen? Because he does speak about it quite a bit. And that is my wheelhouse. So I would try to focus on that and see what his response is.
Yeah, I would focus it on the education system and the laws that are being passed at a lightning pace to change the education system forever and introduce indoctrination towards the kids. For what end? It doesn't look like it's for a positive end to me, but yeah, I think that's a really great question to ask him. What could we do about this, because the education system is off the rails? At least in my opinion, there's some stuff that just is, it's outrageous what's going on, and it makes people get upset and we don't like it. So what are we going to do about it? And
I
I think President Trump could really step in on that.
I absolutely, and I would also ask, about, would these people be held accountable? Could we file charges? Like, it is child abuse. It's endangering children. Um, I would also ask that if we could put laws and policies in place that these people would have to be accountable for what they have done and exposed our kids to. And, somebody has to take ownership of this. And we got to find out who it is and then how to fix it. Because I would add that part as well.
Well,
I see a hand.
these bills are being passed though. So obviously, state by state, and the states are governing and passing these things that, so as far as what a president can do, what I'm trying to say is it's working in the way they're working the system, by passing these bills from the ground up. The movement that they're doing is grassroots.
At 100%. It is so calculated and organized. And Maga and I always talk about Washington State and just how fast this rolls out there and who's behind it. Howard just seems like such a machine almost, that it's not even a person. It's, an AI that's just putting out these bills for them. They type in what they need and it's coming, because nobody can be able to create these bills that quickly and roll them out that fast, at least in my opinion. But
Right.
Massachusetts is doing the same, has the same model kind of in effect. So it will be very interesting to see how this rolls out, especially Monday with all of the bills being presented in Massachusetts. So I'm I'm ready to fight, and I'll do whatever I need to do.
Well, the representation by population is not being followed constitutionally. I I don't think that the people are truly being represented by population correctly. Anyways, Chris, you got your hand up. What's up?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going through the middle of nowhere in New Mexico, and that's where service gets bad. So, but anyways, so I wanted to bring up on the Social Security numbers. So back in 2000, my son's Social Security number got stolen, and so did my ex-wife's. My son was like barely just born. Like he was only like 4 months old, 5 months old. 2001, we had issues claiming him. 2002, we had issues claiming him. In 2002, they told us that his social security number was reported as working at McDonald's. He was only 1 year old, 2 years old. And then we had it fixed. We didn't have that issue after that. But so social security numbers do get stolen. It's a known fact. It happened to my son. Also, I did want to let Jeanette know that I'm actually I was born and raised in Arizona. I grew up in the Hispanic neighborhood. I grew up in the south side of Chandler. A lot of Mexicans and a few blacks. The only white boy in Southside Chandler, really. So I know where they're coming from. I do feel for them. A lot of my friends are Hispanic. A lot of good friends, and MAGA's right. I mean, that community, they're family based. I mean, they'll look out for you. I had no issues growing up. Well, I had issues, but because it was a rough neighborhood, but it was a tough growing up. It was more of, you know, fight to survive type toughness. So I know where they're coming from. And I'll leave you with this one question for Trump that I got. What would he actually do to fix the corruption in the government? And I'll leave it there.
Man, that's a big one.
I don't think he could do it. Like, you have to vote. You have to help him. Like, Meg, I like your room. I've listened a few times over a while. It's great, and I love this talk. But why Trump is not some reincarnated spirit of God or something like that. He's not Moses. He can't part the Red Sea.
That's not what this space is about. We're not putting him up on a pedestal by any means. All of our spaces are diverse and beliefs and things like that. All I wanted to do was ask people today. The only thing I said today was, if you had a question for Trump, what would you ask him? I didn't say, I don't think I remember any of us saying Trump was the best president ever. We need to go back, make America. We didn't say any of that stuff. We've been talking just open about how to put the power back in the people's hands to steer the country in a positive direction if they don't like it, in a peaceful and legal manner, following constitutional values. And we're not putting any one candidate up on a pedestal here today. So,
well, I would just caution people that think Trump can do this, because remember, he's got one term only. He's got 4 years. If he could drain it, it would be there. And let's not forget, if you think the Democrats are not going to immediately attack him if he wins the presidency and go forth, it's done. They're going to go after him hard.
sure, there's going to be, you know what? If it was easy, everybody could do it, right? And we don't do things because they're easy. We do them because they're hard. We love a good challenge. We're Americans. That's the fight. We love a great fight. We love a great cause. If we see somebody in trouble, we step up and help. If we see something going bad, we are the auditors as citizens. We are the auditors of the arbiters. We need to be aware at all times. If we see something that's unconstitutional, unlawful, isn't following the Constitution, the citizen's duty as a citizen, you need to step up and say something. That's what VotifyNow is all about. If you see something, you say something, it enters into a database, and now everybody across the digital platforms know about it. We need to get the people informed. We need to get the people together. We need to have them vote. We need to have them do all of these things. Early vote action, use the tools, vet the candidates. I could go on and on and on. Marlon, please jump in and let's keep it rolling, brother.
Yeah, I think, in the beginning of the space, we talked about the steps to that we would recapture our locals. So, Brad, for my particular state, they have taken the precinct committees out of it, and really the all-time N word goes back to the GOP chair in the county, and this is for all the congressional, or I'm sorry, your local commissioners, your local township councils. Everything is going through this one particular, chair. So it has taken the general public's and the citizens their vote away. They don't have any power in the precinct committeeman. They don't have any power even in the township. Everything goes through the chair. So if it's a popularity contest or you have a lot of money, this is the way. This is what the cleansing process that we need to do. There's some kind of judicial strengthening coming. And the only people that can fix it, Brad, is we the people.
Well, you need look, as the auditors, then you need an advocate. So you need an advocate to represent you and to fight for you. Okay? So the citizen's duty is to audit what is going wrong with the arbiters who are imposing things that are unlawful and doing things that are unlawful. And we need to bring that to the advocates that will change it and fight for our constitutional rights. That's usually the Supreme Court. Eventually, most of these things end up in Supreme Court to be decided if it's truly outrageous and something that needs to be addressed. Jeanette.
Well, I wanted to address Brad because I specifically go into huge Trump spaces where I guess we do only speak about like the great things he did, and this space has been more educational than I've had in a while. And MAGA has let all of us like speak our piece about like different parts, and I haven't heard anyone say anything like, I don't want to say nothing negative about Trump, but we're not like praising him. So I think when we hear positive things and we're on one way, we're already thinking one way, we should be more open about like the conversation, because I think it's, the question is great. Like, what would you ask President Trump? He's not saying like what would you praise him for, but maybe like what would you want him to work on? Like, my question or conversation with him wasn't positive. It was changing the conversation around the border. And I think that's, a lot of people don't like to talk about it other than like one way. And I just, it would be MAGA and, others inputted like a different way to go like around that conversation to not make it like a specific way. So I actually think this is a wonderful space, MAGA. I tend to be in my circle of people, but I love going into new places and learning new things, because like I am not for early voting. I think that's, if you know me, it's apparent. But hearing Shane talk about how he spent the time to listen and go through the process with Scott Pressler. That's important to hear from like the opposite perspective, because now I know Shane did the research and now he's speaking from being educated and not out of feeling, where a lot of people speak out of feeling. So I
Yeah.
appreciate the space.
Jeanette, that's really great what you said. And what I wanted to circle back on was what Brad said that he would say to President Trump. He said that he failed to uphold religious freedoms. Now, if you look up the amendment as far as that, that's saying that he somehow violated citizens' amendment rights. I'd like to circle back to it because it goes right to the First Amendment. And I don't know how President Trump would have done that or did that, but we'll go back to it. I'd love to expand upon how he failed to uphold religious freedoms, because we didn't go deeper. It's a deep topic, and I didn't want to inflame the room, but we'll eventually get to something like that. Advocate, please jump in, and we'll keep going. We'll talk to Q down there, and yeah, let's go, Advocate. What's up?
I absolutely love what you just said, and how you said these are uncomfortable conversations. And I was cleaning, and it brought me back on what that's the premise of the space I do on Wednesday nights. Had these uncomfortable conversations in order to grow as a person, to learn the other sides, and to just figure out how to change things. But you're right, people don't want to talk about things that are uncomfortable. We got to get out of our little bubbles and just ask those questions, get informed, and hear what's going on. Otherwise, I don't see how we're going to be able to change the country. And that's all I wanted to say, that I loved that perspective of the conversation.
Yeah, if you violate the First Amendment, you can't pass go in this game. You blow it right there. So we got to at least uphold the first, the second, and all of them. But let's keep rolling. I'd like to go to QR. What's up, QR? The only man the most infamous man on social media. QR, are you there?
Yeah, I am. Thank you. And I've totally rebranded over the 4th of July. This is Jim Bannon 7. I have loved your space for a couple months now. You and Marlon are sort of my heroes for open-minded hosts. I've learned a lot of different perspectives here. And I just came to a major decision. I was waiting for a go to run the campaign for a sheriff for U.S. Senate here. And I had the guts to send him an email saying this is the most difficult email that I've ever written in my career. and enclose a video and basically saying that if he doesn't stand on his own and get away from number 45, there's no way I could get him elected. So I'd made a $12,000 investment in that campaign, but just with all the criminality and all that's going on, and I believe in ending divisiveness in the United States, I can't, in a true heart, run a U.S. Senate campaign with somebody who says anything good about him. So thank you for listening to Opposing Views.
Great. Thanks for coming in. I'm going to turn the floor's attention to Linda. You've been really patient. Good afternoon, Linda. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm not sure what the space is about exactly, but I heard someone say, what would I ask President Trump? What I would really ask any of them is why we are not working towards dumping our antique systems in the first place. We, the people, have a voice, but with the system we have now, we have only hope. We hope they represent us. But just imagine if there were a place that we demanded that was created by our government and that was secure, and no one can say we don't have the technology to do that. But right now, we should have the ability to dial 1-800-THE-VOTE or 1-800-THE-POLL. It should be nationwide, like 911, and they should not really be able to do any law anymore unless they ask us. Our systems are so antique with social security numbers, PIN numbers, and a confirmation number. Every single one of us could directly communicate a vote or an answer instantly, bypassing all the machines, all of the middlemen, all of the corruption, everything, if we were just able to be heard. I hear over and over and over in these congressional hearings, and these people stand on stage and they say, the people deserve and the people want, and no one ever asks me anything. By God, they should. This place should exist in 2023. And all of the middle things should go away. They should be able to put up, do we want trans men to be in women's sports? Answer yes, no. If we had a secure place for the entire nation to sound off, to go to, we could eliminate machines. We could eliminate everything if they would just directly ask us.
Linda, I get what you're saying, and one of the only ways that could actually exist would be using some kind of cyber system with, a secure system with using blockchain or other. And I know people have taken that angle. I don't think it could happen by paper alone. I think it would definitely rely on technology. And if that's the case, technology has the ability to be hacked just like anything else. So it opens up a whole other thing. But like you said, it is possible using digital means or technology to have somebody's opinion or voice on just about anything. It should be able to be secured. It should be able to be heard. So that's an interesting point, and I've heard it brought up before, and I think I got to go to Marlin, and we'll keep rolling. Thank you for doing that. I wrote down what you said, and it's been noted. Thank you, Marlin.
Well, hey, I would be a big proponent in getting a receipt when you vote, right? This way, at least there's a paper trail there. You know, I don't understand why, you know, this is 2023 and we can't even get a receipt. You know, the voter rolls, they're okay. Let's back up. The Constitution, right? The Constitution is there and is laid out like a cause and effect. And we just haven't done the cause and effect. We did not institute what they laid out. So if there was a problem, we've forgotten how to use it. That's the major thing. You know, we're not using the Constitution as a cause and effect document that it was made. It's unbelievable back in 1776 that they really came up with this. I mean, that's in my head, because everything that they laid out, they have laid out mechanisms to fix them, and we're just not following.
Yeah, I've often referred to the Constitution as one of the first supercomputers written on parchment paper alone. It wasn't done with a circuit board. It wasn't done with a program like with code. It was done in plain English with linear thought and steps, and laying it all out so that you can use it as an operating matrix to run a country, to run a nation. And if we don't, there's a circuit blown, or there's a pathway there that has to be resoldered together or found. It's a lost file. You know, let's go back to the basics, go back to the Constitution. I got to move on, and I'm going to turn the floor's attention to Michael. Michael, thanks for joining us today, sir. How are you?
Good. I hope everyone's doing well. I know it's going to be hot in my neck of the woods, so we're about to head off to the river, go play and have some fun. But I guess, if I was going to ask a question to Donald Trump, it would more so be on timeline. I mean, I truly feel like we are in the disclosure portion of this show. And, it's slow going, but, I understand the main ratifying of where we are as far as human race, eliminating the trafficking and saving the children. And I know that is probably the forefront and the most important of all of the things that are going on. And I truly believe, military is the only way when you have a corrupt DOJ and corrupt FBI and corrupt CIA and corrupt, every three-letter agency. When you have that, really military is the only option, because there isn't a court that will rectify the situation. So, and I do believe military operations are ongoing now, but I'm more so wondering about public acknowledgement and understanding the arrests, the Clintons and everyone else that have been really destroying this country and torturing many, many people. So more so a timeline, I guess, is what I would want.
Of when that would be corrected? Is that or how he would address that?
Yeah, not really. When we turn the page, that's kind of what I want to know. When we go back to the original Constitution, when we go back to more of a limited government. I mean, there's so much that needs to be done. And, if we go back to the original rules, even in the voting system, second place is VP. There isn't this uniparty system that, automatically brings a party, if a president wins, they get to pick no, it's normally second place. So, and that gives the people more power. So, they might be a Democrat, they might be a Republican, and the vice president might be a Democrat, so it's not so much more power to the people. And I think when the people elect both the president and vice president, not as a ticket, but individual, I think that gives more power to the people. So more so when this is, the next page is going to be turned.
That's great. Thank you so much for contributing today. I want to go back to Brad because we spoke on his question for President Trump about religious freedoms, upholding them, and I want him to jump back in. So, Brad, please.
Sure. What I meant by religious freedom is when Trump was president and in office, and at the pandemic, we watched, we watched on CNN Jewish people getting arrested for holding a ceremony. We watched Christian churches in a variety of, particularly in 5 Democratic states, and 5 governors basically shut down Christians, Catholics, all manners of faiths. Synagogues were shut down, and people were arrested by those. And those didn't grace the MSNBC News Hour. They also didn't go into Barr's office and say, hey, hold on a moment. This is something that we actually have to talk for. You can't suspend it. And we watched Christian preachers and Christian churches and all that stuff hold outside congregations. They had chairs 6 feet apart. They were outside, and yet they were still shut down. Gretchen Whitmer did it. So the DOJ didn't follow through, and Trump didn't assert and say, hey, hold on a moment. You need to follow the Constitution. I am the president, and you governors are not giving them their rights, and you don't have the ability to upend a lot of those rights. And we see those retractions coming through. We see the court making decisions on these, state courts and others, that said, you have to follow these rights. You can't just set these aside because they were codified for the worst of times, not the best of times or at your convenience or by your leave. So we need to actually ask Trump, are you going to actually assert and hold onto the constitutional rights? Number one being the freedom of religion.
Got it. A lot of these things are happening, each state's different, and what happens in each state is it's specific to that state. And I think you're referring to during the COVID era, correct? When churches were being closed down, you're directly going back to the lockdowns that were happening.
Yes, but now it's still continued again, because what we have is now Biden. What he's done is been able to, the Catholics all of a sudden became a right-wing, neo-Nazi, white supremacist, white nationalist extreme group, a terror group. And it's continuing to progress. There seems to be a persecution of this. And it's odd that you could say, hey, the country was founded on Protestantism and Christianity, but I really don't care about that. What I will say is that it's funny that the government is now weaponizing, arresting ministers, arresting people who sit there and hold the Bible and say that they're pro-life. And I'm not even a Christian. And I'm getting tired of seeing that my fellow countrymen can't practice their faith openly without discrimination, without being persecuted, without being prosecuted, financially bankrupt, and actually sitting there and saying, hold on a moment, didn't we fight a revolutionary war for this? Didn't we fight a lot of wars to make sure this right stayed? And all of a sudden now it's okay to beat up on the largest religious force that exists in the country. And you think that somehow this is going to end well for this nation. And that's one of my chief concerns, because once we destroy that, then once the First Amendment's gone, the Second Amendment was designed to keep that in place, to ensure it there. But I don't really want to see the country resort to something like that. I don't really want to see the bloodshed continuing.
Thanks. I'm going to go to Michael. Michael, good afternoon. How you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Looks like you got another room going here. I'm kind of behind on what you're doing, but as far as the voter thing y'all were talking about, we need to start, as I've said before, we need to start at the grassroots of it all. Get in and get your dead relatives off of the rolls, okay? It would be so easy to install a system where, your vote is registered. They know what it is. You can pull it up at any time, and you can say you voted for this person, and you can do it with QR codes or however else you want to do it. But you could do it to the point that you could go back a year later and say, who did I vote for? And they better be able to pull up who you voted for, not just a receipt that who you voted for, but that the actual system shows who you voted for, right? And as far as Trump is concerned with the COVID thing, his hands were tied. Understand, if Trump hadn't done what he did, we'd still be in masks today, because that was to bring the WHO into power and to bring us into a new world order. That's the bottom line of it. And people need to get to the very baseline of everything that happened there. And you know, again, I like to throw things out so that people go do their own research. I don't like to really just point it out, but this time I'm just going to point it out. The simplicity of it is there's 10 people that run the world, and those 10 people pull all the strings of every puppet that you call a senator, congressman, president, you name it. But yeah.
I wanted to circle back on religious freedoms for a second. In the North Bay and Santa Rosa, there's a bunch of North Bay activists that are furious about a controversial church known for its anti-LGBTQ stance. And they received money from a state grant. Now, I did notice in some of my bill research with Advocate that there's some bills that are being passed where they're actually going to make churches adhere to LGBTQ or be exempt from receiving state or federal funding. So here we have a church that actually got some funding, and the opposition is in an uproar. And this bill that it was anyways, AB 1664 to fund security improvements to help congregations protect themselves from hate crimes. And the LGBTQ is in an uproar because they're saying that how can these people be agitators and victims at the same time? So the church is being labeled as, bad. And the church's position is they see a group of people that are coming in and trying to teach kids some very weird and demonic and evil things. And these people are focusing on the little ones. So the church is literally, they're fighting the good fight. They want to keep the message pure, and they want to preserve their religious freedom. So there's an example of people fighting for their religious freedoms right there. Advocate, please jump in.
Mega, real quick, look up
Yeah,
the
go
Ohio
ahead.
Pastor Protection Act.
What was that? The Ohio.
I gotta answer this question.
The Ohio Pastor Protection Act, and other states are similarly adopting. And if Shane is still listening, he and the Republican Party need to do that in Minnesota as soon as possible before everything becomes a trans space. But it's the Ohio Pastor Protection Act. What Democrats did was try to attack and force priests, ministers, rabbis, whoever else to basically perform same-sex marriages in their churches. And the Protection Act applies to churches and to the ministers to basically say this: if it's against your orthodox, you don't have to do it, which is a huge win. And it's something that Republicans and conservatives need to unify and push through.
Well, it goes to the same point for federal funding. They should not be cut off from federal funding because they're preserving their religious freedoms. And exactly like what you said. Advocate, you back on? I saw you unmute. All right.
Maybe, all I was going to say was there is a synagogue. I'll post the link down in the pill that they are actually having an LGBTQ summer camp, and that I haven't looked into it yet, but they had to have some kind of federal funds going into that. I was blown away when I saw it.
Well,
That's all I
that's the
wanted to add.
well. It also goes to the schools. The schools will not get funding if they don't do certain things, and so the money is what's controlling a lot of this. I got a lot of hands, guys, and I got some requests for people to speak. If I rotate people around, don't be offended. Come back, we'll rotate you back in. Please retweet the space. That's what gets your voices heard. Brad, please, to you, your action item is to post that down in the Prilosec down below so it stays with the space forever so people can get to that information. Shane is a legacy speaker here, so I'm going to turn the floor to Shane, and then we're going to go to Michael, Linda, and then Truth, okay? In that order. Thank you. Shane, please.
Thanks. So part of what just was said now, but yes, so there was 3 rounds of ESSER funding that went to the schools during the pandemic. If you took that funding, it came with a lot of strings attached and the very, very deep weeds of those massive bills out of the feds. The same thing is happening. And as far as passing a bill like the Ohio one that you just mentioned, somebody mentioned, we're way past that in Minnesota. They already made us the, what do they call it? The trans, whatever the hell it is, sanctuary state. And however, the Supreme Court just ruled that, you know, on some of the stuff that they can't force a person to do something if it's against their beliefs. There are machines pushing back on different sides of this, but I don't, this is not going to be an easy fix. This is coming from a lot of different places, and it's a lot of evil places. This whole trans thing that has suddenly blown up. I mean, a lot of the LGB side of the QT side have separated themselves. We have a very large Muslim population in Minnesota, and they typically have been on the left side of things, politically speaking, but they are very, very upset with this whole trans side of it because that's like apparently a bridge too far for them. So I'm actually going to DM Advocate because I'm going to send you some stuff just so you can kind of get a feel for some of. There's a particular state legislator here that is putting a lot of stuff on social media, pushing the trans thing, and now claiming victim because of all the hate speech they're getting back on social media. And well, if you look at what they're putting out, yeah, you get what you pay for, I guess. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, and the Sound of Freedom thing, like obviously has blown up, and it's brought a lot of people's attention to that. Sometimes I get concerned. Are these the shiny objects we all distract to? Because you got to look at the big picture. That's a very big one. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not trying to take that away. But there are so many things happening on so many levels and so many different categories that are going to have a massive amount of negative impact. And until we all understand as people, I mean, simply as people, that none of this is good. And the best thing that I can say, I watched this as a person who lives in a liberal state that advocates for very conservative values. When we didn't have conservative enough representatives in certain districts, is what we call them, we started working to get people elected to those local boards that we call them BPOUs. A lot of you guys call them precincts, whatever. Doesn't matter. And then they're the ones that put forward the next candidate, and they're the ones that have the direct contact with the Congress people. These people are it's their voice that is heard the most. And school board, same thing. I mean, we hear it over and over and over again. Yeah, well, nobody's got time, or I got a job, or I gotta run the kids to soccer. I get it. I'm not complaining by any means, but I gave up a lot because I'm that damn passionate about it. And just go ask Mama; she'll tell you. Like, I'm dumber than a stick because I walked away from a lot better thing to do this, and I spend all my time doing this day in and day out. And until we pull this back, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be overnight. I mean, they've had 247 years to completely screw up that beautifully written Constitution, and they did it slowly. Well, if you think you're going to push it all back in a day, humans hate change. They absolutely despise change. They only change when they need to. That point is coming sooner than not. And like the other gentleman said, like last thing you want is the Second Amendment to become the resort of the solve all, end all. That's what we're all trying to avoid. But people are getting very passionate and they're getting very frustrated. At some point, that there is going to be a tipping point. Either you stay in the pan as a frog until you realize you're cooked, or you jump out and you fight back. At some point something's going to happen. I believe they know that they're at that kind of point, and they're trying to adjust accordingly. If I guess if there was a question for Trump, I might ask, how are you going to push back against all of this? Because it's not just one thing. One thing I do know that Trump did well was he really fought the child sex trafficking stuff and never got credit for it. I mean, we were getting like notifications of these massive stings nationwide simultaneously, all at the exact same minute in locations from the West Coast to the East Coast. I mean, thousands of people at once were arrested. I mean, the timing and the coordination it would have taken to pull that off had to be enormous, so that you don't hit this one 10 minutes before that one, because the phone calls would start immediately when it starts hitting the fan. And to do all that well, I mean, it's one of his things that I don't think he's ever got enough credit for. But that's one piece. And I think that's one piece they're trying to hide, and they're going to use other things. But while they're doing that over there, they're also consuming all of our agricultural land with renewables, which don't really work. I mean, I can go deep into the weeds on that one, but I'm not going to. I'll spare you.
Yeah, we got to keep moving, Shane, because we got like a bunch of hands. So please try and wrap it, and then we're gonna keep moving. And I want you to stay. We gotta keep
No.
going,
I
brother.
understand. I understand. But just there's a lot going on, and I know there's a lot of people that don't like Trump. There's a lot of people that love Trump. I'm just going to give you simple data statistics. The numbers say there is no way Trump is not the nominee. And I don't care if you love him or hate him. The numbers are not there for anybody else. It just cannot happen statistically. So that's my 2 cents worth.
That's some pretty powerful stuff right there. The facts. Michael, please jump back in, brother.
Yeah, okay. First off, I'd like to let everybody know before I speak that this is just my opinion. I'm not saying this is fact or anything else. It's just my opinion. So, a lot of people are wondering what Trump is going to do, and I want to remind everybody that our government is separated into three different powers. Okay, we have three different portions of government, and the president alone doesn't really have the power to do much as far as that goes. And I just on an optimistic side, I want everybody to realize there are a lot of corrupt, bad people currently in powerful positions. And the only way that's going to get solved is by replacing them with good people. And I think that's what we're going through now. We're getting to a point to where we're finally getting good people. Like Shane had mentioned earlier, I could be doing 1,000,001 other things, but we've gotten to a point now where we're finally getting good people to say, what's more important than money or fame or power or whatever, is actually making life better for my children and their children, and starting to take these positions and starting to run, because truly your life is more affected by your local government than the federal government. So, as we slowly start to go in and replace bad people locally, and I believe we're doing that now. I think we're to a point to where people are starting to say, "All right, I'm no longer going to leave it in other people's hands, and I'm going to do it for myself." So, in an optimistic view, I see that is occurring here in the United States, and for anybody that's looking to Trump to save the day, that's not really the case. I'm very, very I admire him so much. He's created this movement. He created the MAGA movement. He created the patriots of today that are now no longer going to just sit back and let somebody else do it. And so, I guess I just wanted to let everybody that's wondering what's Trump going to do, and I'm thinking it's not Trump. It's us. It's you, me, and everybody else in this space. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And that's why I want everybody to go to Early Vote Action. I want everybody to go to VotifyNow. It's the tools that you can use locally in your community, and you can actually make a change from the ground up, because the people got to take it back. The people have to be the auditors. They have to drive this ship. They have to direct it. Linda.
I just wanted to say that I think everybody in here is making my point. I know you said earlier that, other people have suggested that we have a system update, but just think about this right now. If this place existed, regardless of who was in office, regardless, the person in office, the people in office should be there doing what we want. And if they are not hearing from we, then obviously they can't do that. So if right now in history this place existed and we were able to go there, and the question was anything, do we want lying from a political person to be punishable up to death? In other words, the penalty for lying should way outweigh the incentive to lie, which is what we have right now. But just imagine if we could go there right now and the entire nation could weigh in on that.
That's a great point. I get what you're saying. You want some accountability. You want integrity. You want the people to speak and be heard. I hear all that, and I think that I'm going to tell you. I would really encourage you to go to Votify Now and begin using that tool, because you're going to be blown away at what you find there, and your voice can be heard there. So I get it. I heard what you said, Linda, but we got a lot of hands, and I just have to move on, hun, from that, because we're lollygagging here. I'm sorry, hon. Janine, thank you for joining us.
Hi. The question I would have for Trump, I want everybody's feedback on this, because I came in the middle of this and there might be a lot of things that I don't know, but I know during COVID, I believe that Trump did the best he could do. And there were a lot of questions as to why didn't he fire Fauci? And I don't think we really got clarification as to what exactly happened there. I know there was a point that Trump most likely was getting pretty frustrated with Fauci and Birx. But I felt his hands were tied, because now a lot of people said he could have fired Fauci. Well, when you have Nancy Pelosi there and you have Birx and you have all the Democrats, I don't think it was that easy. So what I would ask him is, when did you first realize, when were you first disillusioned with Fauci? And then when did you feel like you want to fire him? And did you try to fire him, or did you have any discussions about that? And what resistance did you meet when you discussed this? Because I believe everybody says he didn't try anything, but because I believe, because there was such a big Democratic influence, Fauci was a Democrat. I feel, and Birx, I believe she was as well too. And think he had a lot of resistance there. So that would be my questions to him. And I was just wondering if anybody had any facts that might back this up or dispute the facts.
I missed some of that, and please forgive me. The basis of your question was, did he consider firing Fauci? What was that?
Well, what I wanted to know is, first of all, when did he start getting disillusioned? Because after a while, I know there was some static between him and Fauci and the rest of them. And then, I know he wanted to open up everything around Easter, and I know there was resistance there. When was he really getting disillusioned? Did he consider firing Fauci? Did he discuss any of this? And I'd really like to know, what resistance did he meet with his his inquiries, or if he ever did anything to, because everybody, the big deal is, well, he should have fired Fauci. I mean, after the fact, it's easy to say. So I just would like to know, what resistance did he meet? Did he make any efforts? And when did he first realize that this thing wasn't going the right way? Those are my
Yeah.
questions.
You know what's interesting about that is I'm sure he turned to the experts, to make an expert decision. You need to figure it out. You need to get the data from people. And for all we know, he was being fed data that led him to make certain decisions where, hey, this is going to be devastating. People are going to die. What are you going to do about it? And, it's a really hard decision. I mean, imagine that, shutting down an entire country.
No,
He
I
knew
mean,
how,
yeah, I
how do you
agree with
take
you.
that? What do you do with that?
No, I
You
mean,
know?
people were saying, but I know that, I feel that he was going to these people because, I mean, Fauci was the virology expert for many years with AIDS. Birx was an expert, and Trump, delegated to these people. But I was just wondering, when he started realizing about the masks, and when thing was going on and on and on, I'm on his side 100%. But I just want to know what his thought was. He thinking the
Yeah,
whole time, was he thinking, oh well, I'm going by what they're saying, but I don't really like what they're saying, and his common sense started kicking in. I'd like
yeah.
to know more details.
Yeah, I can assure you that he puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like all of us. And he's a pretty smart guy. I think he really searches for the truth in something and weighs everything out. And I think in the beginning, he looked to the experts. The experts gave him, some data, and he was making decisions based off of that. And when did he start doubting what he was seeing or what was going on? I think, like every American, we were all we didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if it was real or not. I mean, I think everybody was fearful when it first started coming, and then we had to learn and think critically, like really think hard about this was going to really be. And as it hit, we started seeing people get sick. We started people actually surviving, and we saw people dying. The whole thing was terrible.
Well, yeah,
And
I know that. I know
yeah,
it was a horrible thing, and I'm 100% what he
yeah,
did.
I
I was
hear you.
100%. But I know that Rand Paul called out Fauci, and I was just wondering when Trump started realizing that Fauci was a fraud. It could have been after he was president, after Biden took over. But I know that, I just was wondering, did he want to fire him before he left the presidency? What were his thoughts? I'd like to know a lot more about how the
Yeah,
thought process.
it's a really great question, and I would love to go through that thought process of when it first happened, what your instincts told you, what you found out over time, and looking back with hindsight. Yes, very great question, and thank you so much for coming up today. I'm going to turn to my co-host Marlon, and then he's going to call on the next person, which I believe is Truth or Elizabeth. I can't remember. Marlon, please take it away, bud.
So, mind you, he's making these decisions after his second impeachment trial, right? It was only what, 2, 3 weeks after the impeachment trial? It's just, I think he put him up there center stage so that this way every American can look back at him and say, wow, they were lying to us right there on center stage when we all needed it, when we all needed that information. So, speaking of Truth, and Truth, how you doing today, man? Good to see you.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. Got you good.
Yeah, I'm on the road, but I'm great space as always, Matt. But you know, I'm gonna keep this short, but because my audio is probably not that great. But listen,
No, you sound great, brother. Don't worry about that.
Well, you know me. Marlon knows me pretty well. He's. I would. I hope he's endearing with the poor created content. He's now Matt a subscribed member to Truth Not Fiction Matters. And if anybody's been a part of my channel since 17, you know I speak truth and I have no fear. Listen, few points to make here. Several speakers have made great points, but and one also mentioned do your own research, which I do every presentation I do. So I'm going to lead in with this. Rand Paul's wife made millions off of remdesivir while he was shadow boxing in Congress. It's a fact. Look it up. Look it up. Fauci made a speech about the pandemic in 2016 when Trump took office. It's a fact. Look it up. The other thing is the WHO now controls, given to the provocateurs that control our government at this time by the major still in 2020, they have full power of what happens in the next pandemic. That should make a lot of people think. The question I have, not just for Trump, but for folks in the room, is what is Trump going to do if he gets into office? He's only got 4 years. What more is he going to do in the next 4 years in 2024 and 2028? And I'll land with this, or put my hot pocket soggy back in this pouch. I want everyone to think about this. The strategic assistant commander just said a week ago they will not refill the strategic oil reserves until the second term of president. Let that sink in, folks. What does that tell you? And thank you.
Thank you very much, Truth. Go ahead, Marlon.
No, I was just thanking him. Sorry, man. Thanks, Truth, for coming up, man. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, take the room, Marlon, because I got to do something real quick for me. Thanks.
Sure, no problem. So I think Elizabeth was next. How you doing, Elizabeth? Good to see you.
Thank you. There was a speaker named Michael previously, and I just wanted to fall off a little bit of what he was talking about. I live in a city called Shasta Lake City, California. During the lockdown is when the folks of Shasta City really discovered who it was that they voted for supervisors of certain districts. The way they kept forcing the mandates and the vaccines. At some point, we got sick of it. We got together. It was called Shasta Recall. It took 1.5 years, and trust me, it wasn't pretty. But we recalled those supervisors. Because of that recall, we no longer have the Dominion machines. We now do hand count voting. Unfortunately, there still will be conflicts because the other side is trying to fight it. Now they're trying to recall certain supervisors of our districts because they took away the Dominion machines. But it starts local. He is so correct. Once you get that started, it forms. But that's all I wanted to say. But thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And Miranda, I'm sorry, you had your hand up, dear. How you doing today? Yeah, I knew she was going to be a little busy. It's all good.
No, I'm here. Sorry.
How
I
you doing,
stepped
dear?
away. So, a couple things. I think that politicians, a lot of times, they talk about all the things they're going to fix. They fix 50% of them so that they have something to run on next time. And I think in terms of Trump, he knows that this is his last hoorah. He knows he's got to get in there and get everything done. And so that for me is a lot of incentive to vote for him. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I ran back to my phone. And then as far as what I would ask President Trump, I would put him in the commander-in-chief position, and I would ask him what he's going to do to rebuild our military. because, as you all know, we're under strength in every branch, and there's hot fires everywhere throughout the world. And the next person that gets in there is going to have to put these fires out. And it's pretty hard to do when we're so under strength. So I would ask how he's going to fix that. Thank you.
I don't know that it should be like, I almost feel like there should be like a judicial cleansing. Like, we should put these responsibilities and the decisions back in the people's hands. I mean, I could hear it now, Miranda, like, oh, I got to go vote again today, or, raise our civic duty, have that process set up our next, 4 years or 8 years, some kind of mechanism like that. That's so got me thinking. Go ahead, Michael.
ADHD kicked in again, but give me a second. I'll be back.
Well, we can go to Terry. Terry, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. I've been listening and thinking about my question to President Trump, and I think it would be, having had 4 years in office, being railed at every angle and every turn, and then having 4 years to think about what happened when he was president. What kind of approach would he take this time to be able to be as effective as we all are depending on him to be?
So I could imagine that. See, I hear smoke out of both sides. I hear some of the presidential orders that he did make that Biden did have the opportunity to overturn. He didn't overturn them. So is it like, set up for him to come back in? Like, he's ready to go, hitting the ground? That's what I'm hoping.
And Merlin, that was kind of the point of what my question would be. Are you prepared to take on the swamp, the 535, all of them, from day one? And hopefully, when he chooses a vice president, they won't be part of the 535, that he'll have somebody behind him that's not a part of the uniparty.
So in every major thing that we have going on around the country goes back to the judicial system. We're talking about even the abortion bill. Look at what the abortion bill was in the 80s compared to what it is now, right? We're committing malice on the delivery table. They're doing the same thing with our 2A, right? They are slowly taking those cuts. And I live in a particular state that the gun control in my particular state is it's impossible to be able to get the carry here. So unless you're moving large sums of money, you're never going to get a carry. So most most people don't have guns here. They're not strapped like they are in other parts of the country. So Michael, ADD, you good?
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to throw something out here, and people can go research it all they want. But legally, there is a loophole that Trump may not just have one term left. Secondly, follow the money. That's all you need to do. And that'll lead you to COVID and what happened there. And as far as some of the things that are going on behind the shadows, if you look at things that make zero sense that are written in our law, you got to kind of stop and think. I'll just leave you with this. Trump told everybody, it's over, go home. Peacefully dispatch and go home. Why would he do that? And I'm just going to leave it right there.
Well, what you were hinting at, Michael, was the loophole that would give him 8 years, not 4. And I've heard the same. That is out there. Thanks for coming up, Michael. Thought, you're up. What's up?
Hello. Yeah, my question for President Trump would be, because I know he's going to do right by the social issues going on right now. My question is merely on specifically inflation. How is he going to stop the inflation that's happening in our country, and how is he going to how is he going to bring all the jobs back from China that we lost to China? So I want him to focus on that. I want the businessman Trump more focused on that, what he was in his first term. Because I don't know if you guys remember, America was great when he was president and business wise. So I'm hoping he focuses more on the business side more, does 80% of it, and figure out the social issues as well through, like you said, the other branches of government. Because you can't really do anything, because there's so many different branches of government with these social issues. But I hope, he curbs the inflation that's happening, because I feel like this is going to be a big problem in the next, couple of years coming up. So I hope that he focuses on that and then figures a way to kind of balance the sheets, banking system, and all that stuff. So I hope Trump wins, and I think Trump's the only solution we have right now for this. And I don't know if you've seen Elon Musk just tweeted a book um, recommending it's a good read, good analysis about um, the guaranteed war between China and Russia, China and America. So I read that book actually 2 weeks ago, and it's a really good book, good read. Suggest everyone read that. It's very interesting. So I retweeted on my page. So if you got a chance, take a look.
Yeah, I think he's in the past addressed those things, and he would do the same things again. And I think if you look back, you look at jobs, there was the highest unemployment. I mean, there was the highest employment rates across the board. It didn't matter which group you focus on. They were at all-time highs for women, African American, all across the board. Latino, everybody was prosperous during. I believe there was prosperity, and we were going in the right direction. I think he would, turn on the oil, make sure that we're a producer and an exporter of fuel and oil. There's a lot of things that we could instantly turn around and turn on that would bring prosperity. I think there's plenty of things. Marlon, please jump in. Go ahead.
So I'm sitting here thinking, about what Church said. They're not going to fill the strategic reserve. Is this a a signal to other nations that, hey, we're weak, and hey, come and get us. We have no oil, and I have to say, I one thing I don't want to lose out of this space is to express to the people on how important that 2023. Everybody's talking about 2024, but if you can imagine, there's a lot of local government that is going to be instituted on this, off year per se, right? So what really needs to happen is we need to turn 1x4 voters into 4x4 voters. We can't just sit back and only vote in the presidential. So if you can imagine 23, that's why it's so important, is because you need to set your local up to be able to receive what President Trump's going to do or what he's going to offer in particular states or programs, right? This is where we need to take control. So we cannot lose sight on 23 is probably the most important message.
Go ahead, jump in, Michael.
Okay, so I'm going to add to that, because I always do every time that's brought up, and we all know I'm going to. Get out, vote your sheriff, vote your judges, do your homework. They're more important than the Senate. Just so you know, it's your sheriff is the most important piece on the board. It's like a pawn, but you get it to the other side of the board, you can make it a queen again. So, yeah, get out, sheriffs and judges.
And just to add to that, Michael, really one of the most important positions for election fraud is actually your county clerk. So he's actually the one that appoints the guys that actually go look at the election in your board of elections when it comes to that day. So the other problem is it's not just a one day voting day now, right? It's a month in my particular state. I think it's actually a total of 21 days. So, we're talking about early action vote. We have to utilize these tools that are laid out, man. We're missing the boat as Republicans.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so my question for that is they can write 7,000 page legislations with AI. Why does it take us so long to count our votes? I'm just curious.
No, that's the $1 million question, right? Come on, Florida can do it in 6 hours and the rest of the country takes weeks.
Well, you can bet your bottom dollar that if Trump has hindsight, which I know he does, and hindsight is 2020, he's probably more prepared than ever to just hit the ground running. He probably has everything all laid out, written out, everything's ready, and he's going to be his hand's going to get tired. He's going to be making so many signatures. Miranda.
Hey, I just wanted to tell you that Jeanette DM'd me, and she said that Trump could not fire Fossey because he was appointed by Reagan. So I just thought I would share that. I don't know for myself, but I know that someone in here was asking, why he didn't. So I just wanted to share that.
That's some great insight there.
Yeah, there's been a lot of smoke around that guy since the beginning. That's why, it's real easy to sit back and be Monday morning quarterback. Oh, Trump should have done this. Trump should have done that. I think it's more or less, maybe he was a couple steps ahead of where we think he was. He probably, he did that. I mean, they were on the TV every day for 2 months. Every day, everybody was watching the news to watch those two talk. Okay, Michael.
Well, I just want to ask a question about that kind of rebuttals that. Do you really want to fire the head of the prevention for what you're going through if you're trying to get out of it quicker and bring somebody in that might not know quite as much, and now we've hit a stumbling block because we brought somebody new in and they're going to have to learn everything and blah blah blah. Was it really a good time to fire Fauci? Again, I think Trump's hands were tied. We'd still be in masks if it wasn't for Trump.
Well, I think what was laid out though during the COVID era was a precedence. The whole thing, it set forth all of these actions that can be used as we move forward, and the WHO is involved and all this stuff, and Fauci, and it created a precedence, and so that precedence can be used against us at any time. They just need to claim an emergency, and lock everything down again, or try to reenact these things, or do stuff and impose their will regarding vaccines and the pandemic or viruses, and all of it. I'm going to bring somebody up and see what they have to say, and they want to join us, so say hi to them. What's up, CB?
Hello, am I able to speak now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, mine is a little bit different. If I had a question for Trump, and I want to lay a little foundation for this, back to January 6th, which is the horse they have ridden for 2.5 years, right? That was a legitimately, constitutionally scheduled fraud debate. 15 minutes after Arizona got into their situation, telling about illegals being on their rolls and this kind of thing, they broke into the Capitol. And this was a worldwide fraud debate. And so I want Trump to tell me why and I believe Trump did not cause this break-in, not in a million years. But somebody needs to be talking 24/7. Folks, why would Trump shut down a fraud debate? He had everything to lose. Nancy Pelosi had everything to gain, as did Biden. And that is my question. If I was before a jury as an attorney, I would talk to them about that. If I knew Trump was trying to be put in jail over J6, you got to have a benefit to commit a crime. So that is huge to me. And our country's nuts right now. And so I knew when Pence came back in there, I had read and heard enough that the VP has tremendous power on that night the Electoral College is counted. And he shut down that fraud debate and went straight to the count. And I said to myself, Pence, your candle is going to burn out. And it has burned out. So we're in trouble here. And playtime is over. And that's what I have to say.
That was very, very insightful. I really like that perspective, and I like some of the stuff that you brought up. It's an interesting thought. Pelosi did not protect the House. She did not protect the proceedings, didn't allow the National Guard to come in. And you raise a very interesting question about what did she have to gain by allowing maybe bad actors to break in and do some things like that. So,
yep,
very interesting.
And isn't it a surprise that they never talk about the guts of anything, do they? And Nancy, the main guy, the Capitol Police Chief, I guess you would call him, was going to be interviewed by Tucker because they didn't get him involved, and they shut Tucker down before that interview was held. So I call it the district of crime. It is no longer a free place. If you go up there as an honest, decent person, they will nail you to the wall because it is a cabal in the House, in the Senate, in the major departments. And for people to press around and say, oh, you fire Fauci, you do this, you do that. You're sitting there as a president facing a medical situation we have never faced in the country. And if people started dropping dead right and left and you fired Fauci, what would happen to you? And I understand how Trump was confused, and he had many traitors around him, and he's got them running against him right now. Some of these people are nothing but hit men. That's all they're there for. And I'm wondering, if you get money to run, do you keep it? I mean, this is crazy. And millions and millions of people are going to have to vote that have never voted. And hopefully for conservatives. I do know that I'm a Christian, but I'm a tough Christian. I'm not little namby-pamby. Millions and millions of us are not voting. If you think politics is too dirty, then you've got a problem. It is dirty, but you have to kick out the dirt. And look at what they're doing to your children. So everybody in the sound of my voice, you better start praying. You better start voting and get your friends to vote, because 10 million more voters for more conservative candidates would overwhelm the system of fraud. And I guess I'll close out. I probably have said enough for today. Thank you.
I liked you a lot, CB. I definitely gave you a follow, and I love the intensity. You know, you bring up the J6 and the different rules in Washington. Well, then why wasn't the trans community and everyone that walked in that Capitol in Tennessee bowled over the cops? Why aren't they being held to the same standard? I can't understand this as a country, CB. I cannot understand this.
I'll tell you what I think the bottom line is, that excuse me, I have a little hay fever out here in California. It's boiling today. George Bush 1 used the term New World Order. And I wasn't that interested in politics. I was somewhat. I got very interested because a chill ran up my spine when he said that. But I never said, what's a New World Order? Well, I just thought, okay, he's got good things in place for the United States. They cannot have a New World Order if they do not destroy America. It is impossible. So do not think ignorance. Do not think they're dumb. Do not think they don't know what they're doing. Think destruction. And when you think destruction, you'll get to the heart of the matter, because them tolerating these things in other places, people getting away with all kind of stuff, is because they're helping with the breakdown of the country. But if you're not assisting with the breakdown of the country, you're going to be brought into court. Look at what they are doing, unprecedented behavior to Trump that has never been done before. And poor JFK, I voted Republican, but he wouldn't even he couldn't even be the nominee now in the Democratic Party if he had the same philosophy he had in the 60s. So think destruction. Ukraine, draining our money. Ukraine has biolabs, evidently. Do you think that we would tolerate biolabs across our border in Mexico? Would we tolerate them in Canada? I don't think so. But they want Biden to tolerate them. I mean, Putin to tolerate them. And we know that there's been money, laundering through the Ukraine government and boards and stuff like that. That's a known fact. So this isn't about saving Ukraine. This is about saving corruption and part of that instrument to mess up the United Nations. But like I said, pray, vote, and pray about what you can do. Because I'm going to start showing up at school board meetings. And I'm old, I'm a retired teacher, but I'm going to start showing up and trying to speak my mind. And I'm glad we have these platforms to, it's going to take a mighty strong human being to get in there and stand the ground, because I like a lot about DeSantis, but here's another little insight I had. DeSantis changed some of the voting rules before 2022. I think he established like this police force monitoring the voting. I think he did away with a lot of the drop boxes. Research it and find out. I was shocked after the 22 election to find out he had made some drastic changes. And we did take some seats in Miami-Dade. The only reason you got the House is because they didn't calculate New York. They didn't calculate that seat in Oregon, and they didn't calculate in a couple of seats in California. But the point is, why didn't Nancy Pelosi get on TV and start ranting about what DeSantis was doing in Florida? Because he was counseling some of that stuff put in effect in 20. That was suspicious to me. So we have to pray for discernment. We have to pray for everything now. And we let it go. We kept our mouth shut. The biggest mistake the Christian, and I'm not saying that all Christians are perfect, the biggest title they ever gave themselves was the silent majority. And the other crowd is louder. So I promise, guys, I'm done today. I got my rant out, and I hope people move forward and just think about what I've said. Think the word destruction, and it all makes sense. Otherwise, it's crazy. Okay? Have a good day.
Yeah, CB, thank you so much. And, what you were talking about with schools and other things, and what you're talking about please go to our website, magamission.org, and sign up, join us, and we'll be putting some more information. There's tools you can find. You can join Early Vote Action, get active with that. VotifyNow app, please check that out. And we will have some stuff on homeschooling, and one of our associates, Advocate, she's laying down some action items for people to follow step by step how to address things going on with school boards and all that stuff, and with local schools.
Thank you. Sounds like
yeah.
great work.
Yeah, really appreciate it. And Marlon, just so you know, I beat you to following CB. I probably followed her first, so just letting you know I did that first. Gypsy joined us, and I just want to say, hey, Gypsy, how you doing, hun? You having a beautiful day?
I'm having a great day. I was jeeping earlier, so just got back to the house. I was having a respite day. I need it. Everybody needs it now and then. CB, I followed you too. I walked in and I was listening to you. Wow. So I definitely gave you a follow, and I hope you follow me back. I'm sorry that I missed all the conversation before that, but hello, Mega Mission. Hello, Marlon. Everyone. Hope y'all are having a great day, and I'm just enjoying the conversation.
Good to see you.
Yeah, we started about 10. We kind of had a slow warm up, and then we're getting on the third hour here, coming up on it. I see Kat has been hanging out with us. There's a lot of people still hanging out. I'd love them to come up. If you want to keep the conversation going, that'd be great. We're maybe gonna keep going here if some people want to add some stuff, but we have been going for 3 hours. We usually try to put a bow on it right about 3 hours. But yeah, so I'd like to get to know people. If there's people downstairs that want to come up and just say what's up, you don't have to say anything important. If you did have a question that you wanted to ask Trump, that's how we got on that Trump train there for a second there, because you have to understand politicians are out there. Their teams are listening to people. You know, they are listening. And I know that it seems like your voice is not heard in Twitter, but I can assure you that it's very possible, very plausible that there's somebody out there that's listening that may hear your voice and may hear that question and really want to know what the people are thinking, because they're working on their campaign or they're working on their message or whatever. And I'm sure President Trump, with everything that he knows about what he's facing, he's looking for all the data he can get. So your questions are really appreciated, I'm sure, if it gets to him. Marlon, what's up, brother?
So the better part, CB, you were worried about, or, you came up and you shared your voice. Well, this particular recording, may go out onto Google so that the world can hear what you just said. So that's the advantages. Thanks for coming up.
I also wanted to say, hey, what's up to Jason? I know that he is a PC
Looks
now.
like Mega Mission might be having some connection issues. I'm not really sure. I am getting that. So what have y'all been touching on today? If
Gypsy, I
y'all don't
think
mind.
it's you, sweetie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
I think
Yeah,
it's you.
she can't hear me, huh?
No, hold on.
Okay.
So, so Matt can't, or you can't hear Matt. So he's going to probably drop you down.
She did it herself. She knows the drill. I sent her an invite already. I'm sorry, Gypsy. I didn't mean to do it. I had to do it. They made me do it. The people told me to do it. No, I'm just kidding. Terry, how are you hanging in there, sister? Are you all right?
I am learning so much just listening.
Sweet. I think Gypsy's back too.
Yeah. Yay, Gypsy. Yeah, this has been so informative. And I think I got interrupted with a phone call earlier, so I'm going to have to go back to the recording and pick up some stuff. I love what CBB had to say, especially she's coming from a teacher's point of view and having seen what's happening in the schools. That's just, and now she's going to go back and get involved. That's just wonderful. That's the voices our school boards need to hear.
Yeah, well, I want to welcome Jason to the floor. He, like us, he listened to the American people. he thought to himself, what can I do? He went and found his local precinct, figured it out, found the right people to talk to, decided to sign up, and he's going down this journey. And I'd kind of like to touch back with him. It's been a while since we've talked. I think there's probably a lot that Jason could share on that journey. So Jason, how's it going? Good afternoon, and great to see you, brother.
Hey guys, can you hear me? For those who know, I live in Tahoe and my signal is pretty bad and it's off and on. So hopefully you can hear me. Thanks Matt, thanks Marlon, thanks everyone. First of all, I want to tell everyone that I have come to the conclusion that this is by far my favorite space on Twitter. It's the most trusted people. There was some dirt being slung around this weekend, and I'm not going to name names with people.
You're Jason, you're roboting, bud. You're roboting a little bit, bud, but just reset. Hold on a second. Mute yourself. See if you could reset. Maybe you get into a better area. It got right when it was getting good. You said something so great, and then you started roboting. Damn it. I hate it when that happens. Try again, brother. Give me a mic, Jason. Yeah, there you go.
Hey, I'm going to end up at one of the North Star ski resorts here to go have some pool time with some friends.
Yeah, you're good. What were you saying when you were starting with there was some dirt being slung around?
Yeah, just I think there's some psyops or whatever you want to call them, just so division, and there's two camps that have sort of been divided. I think one guy was in here. I'm not going to name names. Typically, I'm not that type of guy. I'm happy to call people out, but in this instance, I'm not. And I just think that there's a campaign to sow division between patriots, and it's really causing me to think about who is on our side. And I just wanted to tell you, first of all, that I've come to the conclusion that this room, without a doubt, is true patriots. And I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate you, Matt, Marlon, and everyone else in this room that comes and talks about these important issues facing us today. If I'm still good, looks like I got some bars. Here's my personal story. Like Matt was saying, I saw the writing on the wall. Everyone talks about 2020 being the wake up. To me, it was 2022, right? We had a red wave that was supposed to form. It didn't. And that just motivated me to get moving and doing something. I sort of became introverted over the last 10 years, and now I'm trying to break out of that mold, do something for my children and the rest of the children of this nation. I went to my first political committee meeting here in Reno and Washoe County, an important state, important county that we need to flip red in order to win 24, in my opinion. There's some good news and some bad news. The good news is that there was a representative there named Shaden, I can't remember his last name, from Turning Point Action. He got me set up as a precinct captain. So I've been appointed a precinct captain in Washoe in my own precinct. So that's the good news. And then there's also, I think I can also, in addition, become part of the committee, which I'm going to look at July 31st in the next meeting. I've had a lunch with a lady that I met there. I've attended a Republican meeting here in town, in my little town of 10,000 people here in Incline Village, and met Lisa Krasner, a state senator, directly. Got to hear her speak. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Anyways, progress on my end is being made. So there's some good news there. The bad news is that this is an older county. We really need some young blood here. In addition, when I got back, I sent. Can you all hear me? I hope I'm not rubber banding my bars.
Yeah, you're perfect. You're perfect. We're riding the wave, brother. Keep riding it.
Yeah. I'm just spitting it out. And we really need young blood. We need everyone. You need to talk to people that you know. You need to get your family, your friends involved. You need to win this culture war, have direct conversations with people. But some of the bad news is, like I said, we need young blood. And then I got a list of the precinct captains, and I emailed everyone just in one, like 4 other precinct captains, and no one responded. And that was kind of a gut punch. I don't know why that's happening. But doesn't matter. I'm a stubborn SOB, and I am going to continue doing what I'm doing and make a difference for, like I said, because I can't 20 years from now say that I did nothing. And so there's just a lot going on in my world. I'm going to go register voters at the big Reno gun show in August, kind of following Scott Pressler's lead. And I guess that's it. And I'll just wrap it up there saying, just come back to initially what I said, that I appreciate everyone in this room. I hope we're making a difference, and I'm doing my best to. Thanks.
Yeah, I know Scott is working with Turning Point Action too. So, it's a great organization. They do have an app. I just don't have enough places up there to put all of the great organizations that are out there. I only have so many letters I can put in the title. There's just too many. This fight is so big, Jason, and there's so many people fighting the fight and creating great platforms and to really bring the people together. And it's this digital thing that we've been fighting for a really long time. I mean, the disinformation or the misinformation, whatever, the campaign, CNN, the media, Google, YouTube, all of these alphabet, organizations that are trying to stifle and control the narratives, to paint the pictures that make people's minds, it warps your mind. And so, but the good news, the silver lining is that if we also use the tools, we can also write the narrative and give the alternative point of view, and that can also be seen, hopefully, as long as it's not censored, and that's the big question. What's being censored? Are our voices being censored? Is our message being censored? And that's a huge problem. There has to be a non-biased. If it, like Google, you look at Google, it really sucks that some of these huge organizations are literally biased. And the problem is they're dealing with so much information that has national interest, and it could actually really hurt the country, as we've seen. I mean, this is a case of national security, that they remain completely biased and they do not censor any opposing view and control that narrative, because when they do that, they're actually controlling your mind and the nation and the country. And that can't happen. We can't allow these organizations like Google and all these big platforms to do that. Marlon.
So, Jason, I remember, talking a few months back, and you didn't know what to expect, and now you just realize that they're just people. They're not this big giant entity. It's people that are like-minded and unlike-minded. I'm sure you've run into both sides. So, yeah, man, don't take this condescending, but I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Marlon. I appreciate that. I keep coming back to that. I'm introverted. I'm telling everyone here because I'm sure there are a lot of people like me that aren't outgoing, and it's a mindset change like anything in your life. If you want to change yourself, spiritually, mentally, physically, it's a mental game, and everyone here is strong enough to see that they can do this and go up to someone. That's what I had to do. And I saw her speak. She was up to become put her name in the hat to become a committeeman. And I just went up because I knew she lived in my town and introduced myself. And then I had breakfast with her, and I'm starting to meet people, and that's all it takes. And you can do it. And I just want to give you that positivity.
Jason, yeah, the sentiment is that we're really proud of you. I really like that you came to this action point in your life where you decided to get involved, and it's just a really great thing. And we support you 100% on that journey. So please, keep up the fight. Don't give up, and find out as much as you can, learn as much as you can, and bring that knowledge back to the people so that we can follow your footsteps. And that's how it starts. One person can inspire two people, those two people, two more. That's how it's going to work. That's how it's going to go. I wanted to turn attention to, and I'm gonna pronounce his name wrong on purpose. Hobaj, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. I just kind of had a question. You guys were kind of touching base on this just a short while ago when you talk about like the corporations going really woke. Um, So like where I work, it's a pretty major corporation. They're pushing a lot of like the inclusivity training, stuff like that. So like now whenever you walk through like our facilities, through our break rooms, to my office, you see like on our TVs like Pride Month this, Black History Month that, but there's nothing like, to me, there's nothing really like conservative oriented. They're only pushing this like woke stuff. And so after a while, I kind of got sick of like seeing emails with like pronouns and like gay this, gay pride that, And so I kind of wanted to like devise a way to maybe push back a little bit at that, but like not really get myself in trouble, because I kind of worry, and some of the people that I work with, we're worried that like our political views may eventually cause us harm at our job. So I guess my question is for you guys, like, do you have any suggestions, maybe what we could do to like slightly push back towards these corporations, like internally, to where maybe we can stop pushing that kind of stuff so much?
A lot of Americans remove their dollars. They refuse to do business with those entities. You saw that with Bud Light. You know, they really got hit hard, and the people pretty much rejected what they were doing, which caused them financial harm. But you got to look at the bigger financiers, where the money's really coming from. And, a lot of people talk BlackRock, Rothschilds. I mean, you could talk about many Soros. You could talk about all these people with lots of money and lots of influence. And so some people have talked about these corporations, like you take Anheuser-Busch or you take Target, people that have suffered, right, from these decisions, these woke decisions, go woke, go broke. Well, yeah, the people see that, but the issue, they're not really, I don't know how to explain it. You can devalue your stock, you can unload it, and then you can get rid of something, bring back your stock, you can play with the price of something. There's a bigger thing at play here afoot with these corporations and them losing money and biting down on this and going down this road.
Well, and yeah, you're exactly right. I guess my problem is I'm an employee of one of the corporations. So I mean, like, I don't necessarily want it to like go under, but as an employee, I want to be able to clap back a little bit at this upper level management and maybe try to push them to, maybe stop pushing the woke stuff so much, and maybe start pushing a little more family and conservative values, because like it's literally just all woke. Like what I've done, I try to always be a leader. And so like during Pride Month, like a lot of these managers and a lot of these employees were putting this like gay pride stuff in their email signatures. So I didn't really like it. So I went and found a flag, like an American flag, and I put that in there during Pride Month. So all of my emails going out every day during Pride Month would always go out with an American flag. Within a week or so, there was a few more of like my colleagues, just around the network, that I noticed they replaced their signature and started putting their American flag in there. So it's kind of like things like that I'm looking for. I don't really know what I can do at work. Like I can't just go in there and say, "Hey, F the gay pride, get it off the TV." But like I just am looking at like just some constructive ideas of what we can do internally to push back against some of that stuff.
Yeah, well, right to your point, you lead gently by example. You stick to the principles and values that you hold dear, the ones that you want to see in the country. You don't attack anybody, you don't bash anybody, you just be you. You show conservative values and you fly the American flag, and you don't back down from that right to express that flag instead of the other.
And I guess that's what I've been kind of doing. I also used to be part of this fraternity where we tried to make men like better men, but like the problem I had is like at the time I was in a city, so there was a lot of kind of left leaning individuals, and so the conversation, it's like I couldn't go to like the upper level management of my company and have a conversation with them because they're going to think I'm an idiot. But like just like normal people, I would go and have a conversation with them like at a bar. Like we would talk politics, stuff like that, but I never really thought, and to your point, I never really thought like, hey, this conversation, it's not really working. So what I started doing is I started taking these guys, like I'm from the countryside of Indiana. I mean, like we're farmers here. So I started taking some of these guys to like local events. We went and we built fish habitats. And I thought, well, if I start taking to some of these community events and leading by example, maybe that's going to get through to them better than just like having a normal conversation. And I noticed, like, once we kind of started doing these community events, and then I kind of exposed them more to conservative values, and they kind of started changing the way that they lean.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to make sure, and I'm sure you're aware, that there's many of the LGBT, and I'm going to end it there. I'm not going to go farther because that covers it. LGBT community that are conservative. They have conservative values. They love America. They don't want the grooming of children. They don't want this injected the way it's being injected into our society. They don't agree. So you'll find that there's people in that community that are conservatives too, and we welcome them and their opinions here. Marlon.
So I think this is more of a multi-pronged thing, right? So we obviously can see it in our society. We're fighting it in the government background, but there's also a spiritual fight to it also. So all these in combination, because what you're talking about is wrapped up in every problem in society: human trafficking, child trafficking, trans in our schools. That we have to come together at all three of these to beat it. It's not going to be just one.
Well, not to mention we have a whole community of a next generation that are becoming voters, and they're thinking critically and they're weighing these issues and they're looking at their surroundings and forming their ideas. You got a lot of young people that are stepping up into the political arena and getting active earlier than I mean, it's amazing to me when you see somebody who steps up like as soon as they can. I mean, right out of high school, and they just dive into politics. That's pretty ambitious. Some kids, they want to be an astronaut. Some people want to be a policeman. These kids want to be politicians, or they want to make a difference with America right out the gate. It's a long, like, everything you do in life isn't just one day. It's not just 1 month. It's not 1 year. In order to master something, you need to actually train in it and practice it your whole life. And through your whole life, you're going to become really good at it. You're going to become a master at that, a sensei, if you will, in politics. It takes training, it takes dedication, learning, and you're going to learn from your colleagues, and they're going to learn from you. And that's the process. Marlon.
Well, unfortunately, today's discussion was outstanding, but the unfortunate part is I'm sorry, I got to step down.
I'm sorry, I don't have a crying audio clip that I can play where there's weeping and the gnashing of teeth, like, no, as you fall into the abyss. Marlon, it's been a pleasure. And like I said, we were going to probably start doing a wind down, so it's appropriate to maybe start putting a bow on it. And anyways, brother, I see that we fill up, we drop back down, we fill up, we drop back down. But the recording, short but sweet. 3 hours is a long time to discuss anything and becomes an echo chamber at some point. So with
I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I mean, there's a lot of things that we touched on voting wise and the way that we need to, attack it locally. I think we're coming out of this space a little bit more educated than we were.
Well, wait a second. Before you go, did you have a question for Trump? I hate to put you on the spot.
You were going to ask.
Oh, you knew. Okay, well, you know how I work. We've been working together for a long time, so you're like, when's he going to ask me?
So my question to Trump would be, does he believe in the green energy plan? That's what I want to know. What's the future look as far as what we're going to do with green energy comparative to coal and oil and petroleum based. So that would be my question. Because there's a lot of money stockpiled for this green energy. I can tell you that. So I want to know what he's going to do with the money that's stockpiled. Trillions I'm talking about.
Yeah, sorry for the pause there. I was just writing it down. I mean, if you break it into something concise, I'd like to know what he thinks about green energy. If he thinks it has a place, even in supplementing in some way, if it actually yields reward for the effort. You know, you talk about, all the effort and money and waste from some of these things, these items that are supposed to bring, relief from our reliance on fuels. First of all, it'll never replace it. We know that. Sometimes the sun sets. It's called nighttime. Yeah, the sun isn't going to do anything. Sometimes the wind doesn't blow. Yeah, there's that.
So,
And then
just to add a little bit, I am going to be on the local news tonight. I was with my state legislature in Atlantic City today, holding hands on the beach in protest of the green energy plan. So, this is definitely a fight that we're taking up, and we're never going to quit.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I can't wait to see that. And please, when you find where they posted or the location of that, I definitely want to check that out.
So, Gypsy, thanks for having me. Miranda, thanks for hanging in there. Terry, Michael, CB, it was nice to meet you. Jason, right on, man. Can't wait to talk next time. Brandy, Kat, Steve, a lot of people. So, Truth, appreciate you hanging out with us.
Hey, Marlon, I heard you do a lot of work on Twitter and you have a lot of spaces. I don't know much about it. Could you tell me when you do that?
Oh, come on. So I do a space there. I do a space every day at 9 a.m. to 12, and we talk about these exact subjects. So, we're still having some good reactions out of Sounds of Freedom. Working with, Brandy and Shepherd's Watch out of Texas and Oklahoma. And there's all kinds of people coming on board to fight this fight, and Miranda's community, a warrior, and everybody's kind of pitching in to make sure that we make an effective dent. So and that's what we're all about.
Well, one thing that we really are going to be working on together is more stuff on all of these topics, but Marlon and I, we've been trying to get a page together on the site to kind of go down this road. It's a really big topic. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of pieces to it. And we definitely want to feature stuff about the environment. We are concerned with the environment. We're concerned with what this green new energy plan is doing to us and how it's going to have an effect from the windmills to the whales to the environment, and how it's having an impact wherever these wind farms are put up. The money, the waste of life, the waste of everything. It's just, I don't know. The the taxpayers' money, it's terrible.
And just really the overreach of the government and the profits that they're going to take out of this. Even my own governor has a stake in this project. His wife is a majority shareholder of Goldman Sachs. So, they're going to fly away to Italy to a chalet with billions of dollars in New Jersey taxpayer money. That's what's going to happen. And that's why I'm fighting it.
Yeah, God bless you, man. It's awesome. So, I wanted to just again encourage people to check out that VotifyNow.org, and also we got Michael from TNOOA, the National Owner Operators Association. The president isn't in the house, but Michael is a pivotal part of the NOAA team. And if anybody hasn't followed Michael or anything about the truckers, we hold spaces on that 3 days a week. We hold an official NOAA meeting at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on Sundays. So we're going to have that tomorrow. If you're interested in the nation and the lifeblood of the country and the people that bring the food to your shelves, if we don't have them, we don't have much. So Michael, please come on in here and maybe say something in closing about Noah and what you guys are doing and whatever you had on your mind.
I was just coming in to give love to the people that bring the room to us, but yeah, we're part of the National Owner Operators Association. We're just trying to make it a fair ball field, if you will, across the board, and bring the respect back to an owner operator that they actually can feed their family and still run the country. Because I mean, I don't mean to pat myself on the back or really anybody on the back, but it's without us there wouldn't be the dirt that you drive on. So there's that.
You are the alpha and the omega. Really, I mean, there wouldn't be anything on the shelves. We wouldn't have that precious TP that everybody was hoarding. In fact, we wouldn't even have a reason to have TP, as Michael likes to refer to. There wouldn't be any food. Kind of an interesting thought there. Chris is going to come back up. Why don't you take it, Michael, while I upload Chris to the floor?
I can't stop laughing now, but yeah,
yeah.
we no food on the shelf. You won't need the TP, but I like to say it this way: a country was brought to its knees from toilet paper. So just think about when you don't have no food on the shelf, how that's going to feel.
Yeah, we definitely rely on the truckers. The issue that they're facing is that the loads are being double, triple brokered, and there's a lot of people entering into the industry with very low qualifications. And so what you end up having is you have this this dream. Somebody has a dream. I'm going to be a trucker. I'm going to make my own way as an independent contractor. I'm going to make a life for myself. And then they go get a rig or they get involved. They get all the license. They do all this stuff. But the problem is that the brokers are, they keep splitting the money up and breaking it down until eventually a new trucker is faced with, well, I need to start moving some stuff here. But, they might not know much about the industry. They might not know about how their load could be double brokered. And so they get into kind of a bunk deal, and it just runs people out right into the ground. They're trying to get off the ground and be independent and prosperous, but their business right off the ground is already facing rates that they can't even operate on. You can't even make a decent living at it. And if you have so many people entering the industry, it dilutes it. It dilutes everything so much and convolutes and dilutes it so much that the average cost per load keeps dropping and dropping and dropping, and then you have these large corporations. This is just so fascinating. I on so many levels I can't even explain all the facets to everyone, but you have to kind of think it through how this industry is being not only controlled but destroyed at the same time, and it's going to affect everything that we buy and everything that happens in the next, I would say, safely 5 years. I mean, it can get really bad really quick if we don't solve some of this infrastructure for the truckers and secure this issue. So it's only getting worse if we don't do something to fix it, and Noah's stepping up to try and do something. Just like every patriot in this room is trying to step up and do something about our government, they are trying to step up on this one issue because they know how vital it is in this industry. Chris, please.
Yeah, I'm part of NOAA as well, member. Um, Michael's 100% right about NOAA, and I just wanted to add in that we will, we accept anybody to join NOAA for support, and also any truckers that's out there listening. We do offer a lot of services to help you guys. It will save you some money. So join NOAA, www.tnoaa.com. Thanks.
Yeah, Michael can speak on this more, but as a member of NOAA, for truckers, there's insurance, there's tires, there's discounts in certain places to assist an independent owner operator. and their business to help them out. And I think coming together as a community like you're doing and providing the support you're providing, you know, you're gonna see a lot of people that need that support, and you're gonna get a lot of people that are gonna come to you. So we would really appreciate how you're helping truckers. Michael.
It's not just truckers. Understand, we're also trying to get, you know, the general public. So the fuel card that Mike speaks about, the new one that is NOAA branded, that is actually for everybody. That will be unleaded fuel as well. So if you want a discount, you know, joining up, you pretty much your discount on fuel will pay for joining up. Your support will help us in Congress to, you know, show the numbers that there are people out there that, you know, are seeing what's going on, and they're not hiding behind, you know, well, if nobody knows, then there's no problem. You know, the old adage that if a tree falls in the forest, does it make any noise? Same thing if you've got nobody backing you up and you're standing in front of Congress, do they hear you? That's just a fact. But yeah, it's www.tnooa.com. And again, there are so many benefits, and we're adding more every day. Mike Boston works extremely hard every day, even today. He called me yesterday and told me that he needed me in some spaces next couple of days. And I mean, on a Saturday, a Sunday, he's still calling people and telling them, you know, this is where we're going to be, this is what we're doing. And, you know, he's got meetings all day long. So he's working very hard to try to bring this together. And like I said, we're out to get the general public involved. So we're trying to figure out ways that our organization can link up with other organizations. As you know, Brandy is part of Shepherd Watch. We're trying to figure out how that we can join forces with that. I mean, not just looking out for stuff, but also, you know, getting the word out there through our association and you know, networking. But yeah, just
hey Michael,
check it out.
Michael, could you do me one favor, like real quick? So I go to tnooa.com, and how do I get the benefit of that gas card? Walk me through the steps, just briefly. So I go to the site and then I join. So is there a form that I fill out to join? Just lay it out for the people, the steps to get to that benefit.
I'm not real sure. I think I had to go in and fill out, you know, the form, basically who I am, you know, what, you know, basic information, nothing overly personal. It's not asking you for Social Security or anything like that. It's pretty much, you know, your name, where you live, you know, stuff of that nature. And it's $125 every 3 months. So quarterly, it's $125, and a year, it's $500 to be part of the association. Now, you can join just to support us, just by filling out the brief application saying, you know, this is who I am, and that don't cost you anything. Now, of course, you won't get the benefits because that's the perks of you know, having a Sam's Club or a Costco card. It's the same general purpose. You know, we're trying to bring benefits to you for your support so that we have what we need to fight in Congress for us to have a better industry and to repeal some of the stupid things that they came up with, like the Mike could have talk on it. My ADHD kills me. I have to have it written down, but
it's all right, buddy.
1980.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Here's the thing, like I've often spoke with Marlon about donations and things like that, and because we're an organization, but we don't have any donations turned on. But one of the things I always try to look for is what I really appreciate is exactly what I told Marlon. If somebody were to donate something, it's great that they donated, but wouldn't it be a great concept if they actually got a little something back for their donation? You know what I mean? So it's not just a give take; it's a give like situation, and I think that's really a great way to operate. And if I were to do anything in the future or we did something like that, it would be a give thing where you get something for what you're giving kind of thing. I don't know how to explain it, but I really like that concept. It's just like, any other thing. You donate to help, but you get something back with the benefits of doing that outweigh your donation. That's a great concept. Chris is on the floor again, but Chris, can you just hold off for a second? Brandy raised her hand up. Please, Brandy, join us.
Thank you. So I just wanted to bring a little bit of attention, just in case you haven't seen it yet. So actually, the Counter Trafficking Alliance also needs the truckers' help. But it's going to be a project that's worked on in the background. So I've sent a text to Matt to see where we would go with this, and then maybe I'll be speaking with someone, hopefully, to collaborate on a project that is intended to travel across the United States. And Michael is most likely someone I need to chat with too on that, because we've already spoke.
Oh yeah, we'll be talking with Jamie, Michael, and Mike, probably even Jake. We sometimes have conversations with them about different things. So we do have meetings, and we will there's been stuff. So we're going to be talking about a lot, and yeah, we'll talk about it off the space with them in private. Chris.
So for anyone that does want to join as a member and get the benefits, once you sign up, you can actually go under the benefits service page and request for a phone call. You can list exactly what you want, and that specific department will call you.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. I real quick before we close down, I wanted to ask Miranda. Miranda, how you doing? Do you have anything that's coming up that you're working on that you wanted to share with us, or you got any spaces planned or stuff going on?
I don't. We draw straws. It's gotten
That's
to
all
the
right.
point where we draw straws. We don't schedule anything. It's kind of what's happening that day, what's the mood of that day. And if we aren't having a space, usually we're in your guys' spaces. So we all collaborate pretty well together, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when this space is closed, I'm sure I'll see you in another one in about 5-10 minutes after we close, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it just keeps rolling, keeps rolling. We never stop. And speaking of somebody who never stops, somebody that I care about a lot, Gypsy, she has the Liberty Lounge 3 days a week. Why don't you jump in, Gypsy, and talk about it? And I'd really encourage anybody that can get their butt out of bed or has the time frame. Like I'm on the West Coast, some people are on the East Coast, so it's a little bit more manageable. But Gypsy, jump in here, girl, and let's talk about your space.
Thank you so much, my commission. Well, first of all, I just want to say I was not able to hear you, Michael, or Miranda. Brandy, Chris, I was able to hear you, so I was having connection issues. So if y'all sending out my love, and Terry, love you.
They said Gypsy's the best host in the world. In case you missed it, they said Gypsy is phenomenal. Maggie, you got a lot to learn from Gypsy. Pay attention to that girl. That's what they both said. Both Michael and Miranda said that, and they agreed.
Well, I'm totally running to the replay, and I am sorry I missed out a little bit of the room today. I was wasn't jeeping the coast, but that's coming up once again. But thank you so much. I really do learn a lot in these spaces, and I want everyone to please check out magamission.org if you have not already, and just take a look at it. It's free, and we can help get you connected with everybody. Thank you so much for always sending the love to me, MAGA. I love it. I love it. Y'all come in the morning if you can for Liberty Lounge. Sometimes people are drinking coffee. Some people are actually still drinking from the night before. It's a perfect blend, as you'd say, but it's always fun and it's always nice, and everyone's welcome. All communities. So anyway,
Some people are even putting some tequila in their coffee, and they didn't drink the night before. They're already making a hot toddy or something to wake up.
Well, I'll never tell who it is, but I normally can tell. And if you listen to the replay, y'all probably will too. But thank you again, Magamission. I appreciate it. You're a wonderful friend, and I'm so proud to be with Magamission, and all of y'all to be my friends. So thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah, Felicity, she popped in the room. I haven't said hi to her this